Okay, guys, we are live. So for those listening at home, welcome to the Live from the Sword Coast podcast. My name is Kevin Madison, and I will be kind of your friendly dungeon master today. Today, we are going to be creating characters for Paizo's very cool Pathfinder role-playing game. Now, regular viewers of the channel may recognize that this is more of a traditional choice for our channel than what we typically play here. Normally, we play a little more off the beaten path, or not necessarily indie, games, but not big publisher games. But for some reasons we're going to talk about at the start, I think it's I'm really interested in giving the game a try, and we're going to talk a little bit about our collective experience with Pathfinder in general, which is to say that I really don't have an awful lot. Steve, I don't think has an awful lot, and Jeff's got some more than either of us, but not an awful lot either. Then we're going to pick an adventure path that we want to play, because I've got a couple options to choose from. We're going to make some characters, and then we're going to call it a night. So with me, as always, on Wednesday are our two stalwart regular fixtures and features of the Wednesday night podcast. First up, Steve O.
Yo. I'm Steve, and I don't know what I'm playing yet.
And Jeffrey.
Hey, everybody.
All right, so at the time of recording, this is about a month after the announcement came for that Pathfinder 2 was going to be coming out. So you may wonder, why the hell are we bothering to go back and revisit a game that's now 10 years old? Well, never let it be said that we do things the conventional way here at the Live from the Sword Coast podcast. So for myself, the reason I sort of got back to it is Pathfinder has always been one of those games that I have been aware of, and have obviously, like, the top three sort of cubes up there are all Pathfinder stuff. I've kept on top of Pathfinder, but I've only played it once for one adventure path that a friend of ours ran, that I think all three of us actually played in for varying lengths of time. And I have only run it a handful of times. And recently, it's come to my attention that I think that I had in the past approached the game wrong, to be honest. I mean, like, there's no wrong way to run a game, but I think that my approach to the game was as I would run almost any other game, which is to say that, as if the game is there to service heroes who then, have different ways to sort of interact with the world that are different from what the rest of the inhabitants are. 4th edition in particular is an extreme of that, where the characters are very different and are designed with completely different rules than what the rest of the world is. Pathfinder is, for those who are not aware, is sort of a natural evolution of Dungeons and Dragons from the 3rd edition iteration to 3.5, and then to Pathfinder. It came out at a time when the 4th edition of Dungeons and Dragons was the version being supported by the official publisher, by Wizards, and it did not find the unanimous praise that previous editions had, particularly the last edition. 3rd seemed to be met with universal acclaim. 4th was such a different animal than what 3rd and 3.5 were, that it wasn't received terribly well. But I really liked it. Steve and I played in a long-time campaign with that, and that's why we weren't really into Pathfinder. I have briefly dabbled with Pathfinder in the time since then, but Pathfinder seems to be a game where it's the assumption is that everything will function, everything in the world, the good, bad characters will all function by effectively the same rules, which makes it a kind of simulationist game in the extreme. And for those who are regular Pathfinder players or are more familiar with it, this is not a revelation for you. But for me, to think of it that the way the game is intended to be played is more in a more old school, not antagonistic between DM and player, but in more of a passive role for the DM, where the rules are just going to play out the way they play, and that, I guess, like letting the dice fall where they may, and assuming that if you go into it's not an unbalanced combat where the adversaries are going to steamroll the players, then it'll just make for a really challenging game, because the players have, like, they'll know what to expect in terms of how the rules will function, and they'll know that the DM is not going to break the rules either in their favor or otherwise. And that for me is a really interesting perspective, because I generally don't run games that way. The only game that I'm running that way presently is the Traveler game that Steve, Jeff, and I play on Wednesdays. I've also experienced that as a player recently, playing in a sandbox game using early versions or a basic D&D, BX D&D, one of the earlier iterations of Dungeons and Dragons. And in that game, it's absolutely like the chips fall where they may. Random encounters are taken as whatever they are. There's no concern for balance. If you run into really scary shit that's going to kill you, you run away. You know, and if the dice just don't go in your favor and you die, that's just the way you go, or the way things go. So that got me thinking a lot about Pathfinder, and then I stumbled across, with the announcement of second edition, I was introduced to the Glass Cannon podcast, which I have now binged listened about 60 hours of it. And listening to those guys, not only, like, it's a terrific podcast anyway, it's really, really enjoyable. But the way that the guys approach the play between players and the DM is really, really interesting. Like it with them thinking of the game in terms of everyone can make their decisions, obviously, but the dice will fall where they fall. It's a really interesting style of play, and it's not something that I'm particularly familiar with. And the amount of trust that they have in the system, that the system is just going to work itself out, is really impressive. And it reminds me of some of the stuff that we have discovered about Traveler recently. So that's the reason that I have thought that, you know what, I need to give this a look again. The final reason that I'm really interested in looking back or looking at Pathfinder is that my favorite adventure path of all, or like series of adventures of all time, are published for Pathfinder. It's the Iron Gods adventure path that I've mentioned on the podcast before. I've converted it over to completely and posted to my blog for 5th edition D&D, the first adventure. I have converted it to Savage Worlds, to Cypher, to Shadow of the Demon Lord as well. But now, hearing what the experience was like with Pathfinder, with the guys on the Glass Cannon podcast, I'm thinking maybe I don't need to do that, and that Pathfinder will work just fine. So that's part of the reason why I'm interested in exploring this. Guys, why don't you talk about what your experience with Pathfinder has been thus far, so we understand where we're all coming from. Steve, what about you?
I think we've played it once or twice, and that's about the extent. I had a chance to sort of flip through the player's guide, and I noticed it looked an awful lot like advanced D&D.
Yeah, it's. I think there's a lot. There's a lot to recognize of like what is D&D, you know, AD&D second, and 3.5. It's more of a natural progression to Pathfinder than to say, you know, 4th edition. Jeff, how about you? What's your experience with Pathfinder so far?
I have played Pathfinder a couple times. I think I've played the monk before.
Okay. Well, you said monk is sort of your favorite class, right?
Yeah, and not all games have it. So
yeah, that's very true. You just reminded me of something I wanted to quickly attach and send to you guys. So that's where that's where we are right now in terms of our sort of collective experience. I sort of sprang this on the guys last night, I guess. We got oh, sorry, I'm trying to find something here, guys. Well, there we go.
Brent ran a Pirates Pathfinder game.
Yeah, and I think actually maybe you played a monk in the other thing, but I think in that game you played an alchemist. Weren't you a dwarven alchemist?
Yeah, in that game I think I was.
Yeah, and I think, Steve, in that game you played a rogue of some kind.
Okay.
Because you played in that. Remember there was that one time where I had to go out, so I Skyped you in and then left because I had to go out.
Right.
Yeah, and then Brent ran that. So another guy who regularly plays on the Friday night sessions on the channel, he has run Pathfinder for us for the Skull and Shackles adventure path. But for us, so anyway, I have over time accumulated a bunch of different adventure paths for Pathfinder, and while Iron Gods is my absolute favorite, I don't want to use that for this thing. For a couple of reasons. Because for one, I want to have more players. I want you two guys to be playing in that, obviously, but I also want to have a full group with that one, because it's that adventure path and that campaign has a very special place for me, and I want to do that with all of our regular group if this experiment turns out well. But there is fortunately a bunch of other very, very cool adventure paths that we have to choose from. And I sent you guys that email yesterday that set out some of the options that we have. So let me just finish. I'm attaching something to an email here that's taking sweet time. But of those ones, one of the things that Steve and I had talked about before was one of the ways to make the decision for what we want to play is what elements, like what do we want to see in this campaign? Like what types of things do we want to have? More traditional fantasy, or do we want to have more unusual stuff? Do we want to have more of an urban focus or a wilderness focus, or a an intrigue heavy campaign, or something that's more tactics and battle and stuff like that? There's going to be role playing in all of these because they're all quite interesting balances. But and what do you want to fight? Like, do you want to fight humanoid opponents, or like civilized, intelligent opponents, or do you want to fight classic monsters like bugbears and hobgoblins and things like that, or do you want to fight something more unusual, like some of like gibbering mouthers or giants or whatever? I mean, giants are more traditional, I suppose, but yeah. So what are you guys thinking?
Well, I don't know. Did any of these jump out at you, Steve, as something that?
Well, Kevin and I talked about it a little bit, and over breakfast. And I mean, I was just saying that I was, I mean, it's been a while since I played. I like the idea of sort of a traditional rural kind of adventure, but I'm definitely open to suggestions.
So the more traditional one. So those are Iron Fang, Invasion, or Rise of the Runelords, probably.
Okay, right. Let me grab those two books. No, well, hold on. Before I do, what about you, Jeff? Like, what sort of jumps out at you as really interesting? Or do any of them?
Well, I mean, you sort of just described them by the gameplay, and I might be more interested in like some of the story hooks than the gameplay.
Okay. So in terms of the story, for the ones that we've got there, and what I'll do is while my computer is loading up, I'll just open up that email on my phone. Where's it sent? Nope, wrong one. Oops, wrong thing. All right, so the adventure paths that I mentioned were Giant Slayer, which I said is described as a murder mystery that turns into a wilderness campaign against orcs and giants. In that game, you'd be playing inhabitants of this like sort of frontier settlement called Trunau, where you're people from that town, and the hooks are that, I guess, you've got connections to that town. You're sort of, it's saving the town is sort of the setup for that campaign. What you'd be facing in it is the classic like giants, orcs, and it is much more of a wilderness type campaign than say some of the other options that we've got. In Hell's Rebels, that's an urban campaign with players leading a rebellion against a demonic empire. It's not technically like the whole empire. It's all set in one city. The entire campaign is set in one city, and it's you basically struggling against this oppressive regime, and in particular one oppressive ruler. You would be playing you're playing rebels, so you're going to do, there's lots of chatty stuff. There's certainly combat as well too, but there's a lot of, you're building up a rebellion. There's like actually a mini game for sort of how you build up the rebellion. Iron Fang Invasion is I think I described it. It was designed as an homage to some classic D&D, in the same way that Giant Slayer is a homage to the Against the Giant series. Iron Fang Invasion is an homage to Keep in the Borderlands, like kind of classic D&D adventures where you're fighting hobgoblins, goblins, kobolds, that kind of stuff, or bugbears. The game is billed also as the adventure path where you get to keep your companions. Because so much of it takes place in the wilderness, like something happens very early on where you're sort of you're probably all going to be from the same town in that, but your town is suddenly attacked by a massive army of hobgoblins, and it's the fallout of that attack and sort of rallying the people together and keeping them alive, and then dealing with the ongoing invasion. That's what that campaign is about. So you're doing a lot of role playing, but you're also doing a lot of wilderness stuff and a lot of there's a lot of role playing. There's a lot of like strategic stuff where you're capturing forts or trying to head off armies or things like that. Rise of the Runelords is very much, I don't mean to make it sound bad by comparison to the other things, because it is an excellent execution of a classic D&D campaign, where things start small, threats happen to the town. You don't need to be from there. You can be from wherever. And you slowly get involved in this wider sort of mystery that leads you to seek ruins, or ruins, I should say, in forbidden places that will expose a 1,000-year-old or thousands of year old secret. So it's if you want to think of like signature D&D adventures, like long-term campaigns, that's Rise of the Runelords. Ruins of Azatlant is, I've described it in the email as the closest to a Raiders of the Lost Ark game as you'll ever get, but it's not like you don't use any different rules to make it more swashbuckly or pulpy or anything like that. It's just that it's very much like you start the campaign as part of a settlement to an island chain that used to be part of this ancient empire called Azatlan. And in the course of the campaign, you find more and more about the secrets of what led to the collapse of that empire and the bizarre technology that they have there. And it leads you to a lot of underwater adventures. So it's a very Atlantis kind of exploration type thing. So you play in that, these people who are part of the expedition to settle, who then sort of find themselves in a circumstance where they need to find out what's going on in order to save the colony. Strange Aeons is the one exception to everything else where you play with, the campaign starts with your characters in a fugue. You have no idea what your background is. You have no idea where you're from. You wake up in a cell in an insane asylum, and a campaign goes from there. That one is very horror influenced, and it's very much intended as an homage to the Cthulhu mythos kind of stuff. So I can't really spoil the rest of the campaign, but that's the progress. It's not like a Call of Cthulhu campaign where your characters are dying. Like, it's very much a Pathfinder game where you're heroes, but it is very horror influenced. But that's the one where you don't have as much backstory as what you do in any of the other campaigns. For Wrath of the Righteous, it is all about a crusade against demons. It is, you can see in the adventure, like each of these player guides that I sent you, that has information about the different adventure paths too. Each campaign has specific traits that are like background things that will link your character to the campaign. So we'll talk about traits once we get to character generation, but there's reasons, or there's ways we can connect your characters to all the backstories in this, regardless of whichever one we pick.
Right.
Wrath of the Righteous is the only adventure path that incorporates the Mythic Adventures rules, which is sort of like super powered Pathfinder play. And I don't mean in the sense like, like you're Batman or you're Superman or whatever. I mean in the sense that you're way more capable than what the average Pathfinder character is. And that's because you're sort of like heroes of destiny. So in that campaign, there's intrigue, but a lot of it is, desperate combat against devils. And you will, in the course of the campaign, end up leading armies, and even marching on the gates of hell. So it's a pretty crazy, epic campaign, but it's very much focused on that sort of against the demons thing. And then the last two ones are that I mentioned are Curse of the Crimson Throne and War for the Crown. Both of those are very intrigue heavy. Like you're very much thrown into sort of the politics of the realm, wherever the adventure path is set. So, but for neither of those do you really need to be you don't need to be from there. You're sort of caught up in circumstances. You could be someone who's got long-standing connections to that particular, area, or you could be someone who's fresh in from somewhere else in the world. So does that help you get an idea of what sort of you'd be doing in each of those things?
Yeah.
Jeff?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. So, well, first, I mean, if we can't pick which one, necessarily sounds, awesome, how about what ones we can cross off the list? Are there any that sound like, nah, it's not really something, we're doing it in another campaign, or, you felt like we've done it before?
I don't really feel like solving a murder mystery.
Okay.
And also, you're listening to that Giant Slayer podcast, so it might affect your interest in the game a little bit.
It absolutely would. I wanted to include it just sort of for inclusion, because if you guys really grokked with the idea of fighting giants, I could do that, but I'm fine not playing that one.
I would strike Giant Slayer off the list.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Steve, are there any there that just don't sound like a lot of fun to you, or just, don't really get your juices flowing?
They all sound kind of fun. I'm sort of more intrigued by the Rise of Runelords and Ruins of Aslant, and something with some weird stuff going on. Maybe the horror campaign, but none of them I would say right off. I must say I'm not so sure about leading a militia against invading hobgoblins. I sort of.
Okay.
So Iron Fang Invasion would be your vote for no?
I guess so, yeah.
Okay.
So that leaves us with Hell's Rebels, Rise of the Runelords, Runes of Azatlan, Strange Aeons, or Wrath of the Righteous. Let me just grab those, or actually Curse of the Crimson Throne or War for the Crown. Give me 1 sec here.
What are you leaning towards?
I think that the character that I'm envisioning would fit in any of those campaigns.
Oh. All right.
But nothing that jumps out at you?
So
No.
here's the reason why each is the one that absolutely must get played. So this is War for the Crown. This is Crownfall, the first adventure in War for the Crown. This one absolutely needs to be played because you are playing, you're getting involved in the high-level intrigue of the nobility of what once was the greatest empire across all of Golarion, the setting for Pathfinder. You get, there's an interesting mix of intrigue and role-playing and what else? And sort of classic, dungeon crawly type stuff with tricks and stuff like that and unusual monsters. If you dig the idea of sort of a, Alice in Wonderland meets sort of Scarlet Pimpernel type campaign, this is absolutely going to be the one you will love. Oh, Ruins of Azatlan. If you dig the idea of playing, being the heroes of a new colony, if you love the idea of uncovering mysteries from thousands and thousands of years ago that are lost to the sands and the waters of time, if you want to explore massive underwater cities and face underwater foes that have alien ways of thinking, this is the campaign that you absolutely must play. If you want to play very horror-filled kind of stuff, if you want to encounter classic Lovecraftian monsters, if you want to play in a somewhat untraditional way, playing Pathfinder, if you don't really care about a backstory, you just want to be caught up in the mystery of what you're involved in, then this is the campaign that we absolutely must play. If you want to be involved, this is Hell's Rebels. If you want to be the heroes who basically free a city and thwart one consistent enemy from the beginning of your campaign until the end of your campaign, and by enemy I mean one individual. One of the unique things about this one is that you face the same guy. You meet him at the beginning of the campaign, and he becomes a constant foil. So you would have your own Lex Luthor throughout the course of the campaign. You get very involved in the lives and the struggle of the people living in this particular city. If all of that sounds cool to you, then this is absolutely the campaign that we must play. If you dig, this is the Wrath of the Righteous. If you dig the idea of riding a silver dragon into combat with against a giant demon as a paladin, if you dig the idea of facing the endless hordes of hell, if you love the idea of being destined heroes with a divinely mandated mission to crush the demonic hordes and seal a breach between the pits of hell and the earth, then this is the campaign that we absolutely must play. If you like the idea of being a bunch of strange, like relatively unconnected people who happen to start their campaign facing off against a neighborhood bully, but then find themselves struggling to unseat an evil empress. If you want to learn about the backstory and the history of the secret history, I should say, of a country, and then go on to save it. If you want to face a city in turmoil after a monarch dies, then this is the campaign. This is Curse of the Crimson Throne that we absolutely must play. And finally, if you want to see what started the whole Pathfinder phenomenon, if you want to face off against a powerful sorcerer and cult from before recorded history, if you want to play a classic kind of, long-term D&D campaign where you start in a small town and you slowly see the world expand out until you face off against godlike beings from that have been lost to time, and if you want to play the most popular adventure path for Pathfinder, then this is the campaign that we absolutely must play. So that's a lot of games we absolutely must play.
It is.
But I want to
play them all.
Yeah, like which of those sounds? Are there any, now that we've talked about those things? Is there any ones that are lower on the list for you guys than others? What do you think?
I don't think I'm too into Hell's Rebels.
Okay. Steve, are there any that you don't sound into?
They all sound pretty cool. I'm sort of more into the ones that sort of that are a bit more exotic. The ones I already mentioned, I think.
Okay. So Strange Aeons and Runes of Aslant.
Yeah. And
So,
Rise of the Ruins Lord sounds pretty cool too.
Okay.
So I'm good picking from those three.
You don't have to pick those. I mean, I'll play Wrath of the Righteous too. I mean, I don't want to be fussy.
No, I'm good. Like that's, if you're narrowing it down to three, that helps.
Yeah, like the trouble is, like, to be honest, a lot of these, I actually own one other adventure path that's called the Reign of Winter that I really don't like. So I've not included that one in because I just don't care for it as much. All of these ones are super fucking interesting. So that leaves us with Strange Aeons, Ruins of Aslant, and Rise of the Runelords. So maybe one way to help decide between this is to think about what you guys might want to play. So we all have copies of I'm using my pocket edition because I fucking love it.
Yeah, it's sweet.
Oh, I just love it so much. Like as a quick plug, like Pathfinder has released these. I have these in the full size version, but Pathfinder's released these little pocket versions of their books now, and I just love them. Like they're, I don't have any eyesight issues, so I don't find the print too small. But I can see how some people might have an issue with that. But I just fucking love them. Like it's so handy to tote around and to read in bed or whatever. But anyway, so I did. Is there like a character class that kind of or a character? Actually, let me back up. What I think we can do, because Pathfinder, you can suffer from a bit of, you know, analysis paralysis with that game, because there are so many fucking options for what you can play. Even just sticking to the canon Pathfinder stuff. I think that maybe what is better is if we can think of a character concept that you want to play, and then we figure out how to build it for a first level character for Pathfinder. That might be a more productive approach. What do you guys think?
Sure.
Yep. All right.
I mean, if you have a character class in mind or something like that, or a character class and don't let me. I don't want to tell you how to, you know, how to build your character. But I'm just saying, like, if well, what I'm interested in doing is involving the same amount of sort of thought and backstory and stuff like that we do with our other games for Pathfinder. So,
Are you ready? Are you ready to pick the? If you want, we can just pick the adventure if you know what you want, Jeff.
Like which adventure? If I know which adventure I want to play.
What I'm thinking, Steve, what I'm thinking is that if, like, I mean, if your concept will work with any three of them, then that's fine. But if you've got, like, say, for the three adventures you guys have picked, so the Ruins from Aslan, this one will, you're going to be on your own. You know, like you're setting up you're part of a brand new colony. So there is going to be a lot of wilderness kind of stuff involved in here. Plus, there's lots of exploration and, you know, sort of uncovering stuff. The first bit of the game is fairly sandboxy, and then it gets so like you have a lot of freedom as to where you want to go, and then you start sort of uncovering the mystery behind the adventure path as we play a little more. Strange Aeons is much more of not a. I mean, I don't mean a railroad in a bad way necessarily. It's just that it has sort of there's a story that you guys will likely be taken along. There's not quite as much agency in this one. It's still really fucking cool. And that's the way that like horror mystery kind of things sort of work. But the characters in this will likely not, you know, be required to spend as much time in the wilderness or things like that. Rise of the Runelords is, if you think of classic adventurers, you know, going into the wilderness, finding dungeons and shit like that, that's the stuff that we'll get up to in this game. So if you've got a character concept in mind, Steve, is there one of those, or is there any of those that concept wouldn't work in?
I don't think so, I guess.
Okay, so yeah, let's go through all three. How about you, Jeff? Is there a specific kind of character you want to try out, or?
So far, actually, the thing that I most would like to try out is I want to make a halfling.
Ooh, interesting. Okay.
I've always played larger characters. I've tried playing a dwarf, and I wasn't too into it, so I'd like to try a halfling out.
Awesome, okay. So a halfling character, I mean, again, like they'll fit into any three of these, any of these three adventure paths. There can be ideas behind. What I'm going to do too, guys, is that I will supplement your party with NPCs. And then if we have people who want to guest star in the in our sessions, like if Brent wants to play or whatever, then we're going to have other characters for them to be there. So the nice thing is you don't have to worry about filling like the healer role. You know, if you don't want to play a cleric, you don't need to worry about that at all. If you don't want to play
anything that you're leaning towards, Steve, as far as class or anything?
I was looking at bards, druids, and sorcerers myself.
Okay, cool. I was looking at. I think I was considering. I was thinking of making him some kind of an archer class. So that would probably be like fighter or rogue. Is what I was thinking.
Very cool. Okay, so is there one of the three classes, Steve? Well, how about is there a race you're thinking of for your character?
Not really. I guess I could. I was just looking at the races.
Mm-hmm.
I always liked half elves.
Okay. Now, in terms of the what we're going to be doing in the campaign, the three ways to think between these. One of the easy ways is, does the idea of a horror thing where you don't know your backstory and sort of are caught up, like it starts in medias res and the adventure kind of goes from there. Does that sound like what you know, something that'd be interesting to play, or do you want to have more backstory and stuff like that with your character? Because that's an easy way to either decide on Strange Aeons or to rule out Strange Aeons.
I'm usually more for actually having the character backstory.
Okay. Steve, what do you think?
Sure, I can go along with that.
Okay. So Strange Aeons is out. That means we're between Runes of Azatlan and Rise of the Runelords. So then I guess the one of the ways to decide between these two is, do we want to play a traditional sort of, you're brought into the adventure and then like you go and adventure kind of thing, which is what Rise of the Runelords is, or do you want to have the, you know, the structure of that you're part of this expedition, and then you like the game, that one starts off with a very, very cool mystery. Where Rise of the Runelords has sort of like something happens, and then you get involved in this series of adventures. Runes of Azatlan, you show up, and then there's a mystery that presents itself right away, and it's a very interesting. It's not a murder mystery in the same way that the Giant Slayer one is. It's a what the fuck's happening here, you know, kind of thing. So and then it leads into more of a sandbox where you have a lot of freedom to move around the island, and then you will uncover stuff about it, and then the adventure will get going afterwards. So do we want to have adventure right off the hop, where it's sort of, you know, stuff happens and you start adventuring in a traditional kind of, you know, D&D adventure kind of way, or do you want to have something where you're going to be immersing yourself more in the world and then finding the story, I guess, a little later on? What do you think? Normally we got a halfling archer and a half elf of some kind.
I'm not as big of a fan of water monsters.
Okay.
Sounds like Runes of Aslan is full of.
Yeah, Runes of Aslan is chock full of underwater stuff. Like you from Adventure 3 onward. For right now, I mean, all I'm really concerned with is getting us through a first adventure. If we get through a first adventure and we enjoy what we're doing, we can go from there. But if you don't dig on that, then our decision is clear. We're going to try Rise of the Runelords. So for this one, guys, I sent you the player's guide. You can click that open. Let me get mine open here as well.
Rise of the Runelords.
All right. So now what we're going to do, guys, is I want to make use of a optional set of rules that came from the Advanced Player's Guide, which looks like this. There is a feature called traits. And what traits are is kind of like they describe them as like a halfway feat. When we make our characters, well, we can do this. I think what we'll do is we'll build the characters traditionally, and then we will go and do the traits and sort of the backstory and whatnot. Or if backstory emerges as we create these characters, we can do that. We'll figure out what traits would apply. But let me see here. I think the player's guide gives you enough backstory, like some information about the setting of Varesia. You'll be starting in the city or town of Sandpoint. Here we go. So on page 4 of the player's guide, there are a list of campaign traits.
Page 4.
Yeah.
Page 4. Campaign traits.
Yep. So you got eager performer, family ties, friends and enemies, giant slayer, goblin watcher, hagfish, hopeful, merchant family, monster hunter, scholar of the ancients, or student of faith. And what these are is sort of, story hooks for linking your character to the campaign, and also it'll give you a small mechanical benefit as well. So, Jeff, it sounds like you're going to play a halfling fighter. And 1 second, I want to see one.
Well, I might play a rogue as well.
Oh, okay, interesting. Yeah.
I mean, a halfling by nature does quite a lot less damage, and rogues obviously get a backstab bonus when they get the opportunity.
Yep.
And it's quite easy to make a stealthy halfling with your +4 size bonus to stealth checks. So getting lost in combat or moving into positions of flanking to get that extra d6, because like a halfling damage is usually half a dice less than.
Yeah.
So
I just sent you a link to the Unchained version. So you may not, because this came out after we played in Brent's campaign, well after. Pathfinder released a book a couple of years ago called Pathfinder Unchained. And what Unchained was effectively like a bunch of optional rules for playing the game, for reworking the action economy and a bunch of other different optional ways. But one of the things they did is basically took another crack at 4 of the core classes to rework them to make them basically better and more playable. The 4 classes were the Barbarian, the Monk, the Rogue, and the Summoner. Summoner, something from the Player's Guide or Advanced Player's Guide. The Pathfinder Rogue, I think that you would be best to use that one because it's easier to get that sneak attack damage and easier to fill that damage roll than what the traditional one is.
Okay.
Okay, so I sent you the link to that. In particular, like what you
downloading it.
Sure. Steve, what class are you thinking?
Do I go Bard? Do I go Druid? Or do I go Sorcerer? That's a toughie.
Now, according to one of the descriptions of the game here, Steve, it says, under character tips, it says, since the rise of the Runelord adventure path reveals an ancient threat re-emerging from the world, characters skilled in knowledge history and knowledge arcana are best suited to putting the pieces together. Access to powerful magic at higher levels could be the key to survival, not just for the PCs, but also the entire world.
Well, that's a high stakes.
So I just mentioned that because just to make sure. I mean, I guess all 3 of those characters use magic, so. But
All right.
The Sorcerer and the Druid are maybe a little stronger in magic than the Bard. I don't know if you were leaning Bard, but.
So one of the differences, Steve, and forgive me if I'm telling you something you already know from reading the book, but the key difference between the Wizard class and the Sorcerer class is that the Wizard prepares their spells ahead of time. They have to memorize them just like traditional D&D.
Right.
But they are intelligence focused, which means that because int is their most important stat, they get more skill points, which means more skills. It also means that they get access to spells faster, like higher level spells faster than what sorcerers do. Where sorcerers lead out is that sorcerers do not have to prepare their spells. They can cast a few less per day than what wizards can, and they don't gain access to higher level spells. They're 1 level behind where wizards are, but they don't have to prepare them. And then they also get a very cool bloodline feature. All sorcerers draw their magical power from some kind of connection in their bloodline, will be that to like dragons or the elemental powers or heaven or hell or some other, more unusual esoteric source or the gods or whatever. So they get some other neat feature like that, which wizards don't get. So which of those two kind of speaks to you more? Both are completely viable.
Right. Well, maybe the wizard being more scholarly and the need for some scholarship, maybe that's the way to go.
So one of the other things to consider, guys, in making your characters too, is how much work you want to put into your character, to be honest. The rogue is relatively, it's a tactical character, so you do need to try and take advantage of that whole, flanking and whatnot thing, or catching enemies unaware, acting before them or stuff like that. So it's a sort of like mid-complexity character class. A sorcerer is probably about mid-level. Like they do have a lot of spells and stuff like that, but they don't necessarily have to. They don't start with this feat called Scribe Scroll, which wizards do. Wizards, you have to memorize your spells, so you're sort of tracking that each day. They also, generally, the way that you play a wizard is you take advantage of that Scribe Scroll. So, like, because you're restricted to memorizing certain spells, what you'll often want to do is spend some of your money that you're earning to scribe down scrolls, so you'll have other spells available. You'll have like a bandolier of scrolls. It means that there's more cool, tweaking that you do with that character, but it also means you have more things to keep track of. So if that sounds cool to you, and then that sounds more interesting, then I think you would have, Steve, like knowing you and your enjoyment of the bag of tricks.
Yes.
I suspect that wizard might be a better option than what the sorcerer is. The other thing I was going to mention is that sorcerer's key stat, like their spellcasting stat, is charisma.
Right.
Which means that they're not going to, on average, they're not going to get as many spell or skills as what a wizard does, whereas a wizard learns shit tons of things.
Right. Right.
But as I said, I don't want to force you. One of the nice things with Pathfinder is that you can do whatever. Like you do have an enormous amount of freedom in developing your character. So,
well, and I think we could make any of them work. I wasn't suggesting you should be a wizard either.
Yeah. So other things that you mentioned, since you mentioned it, Jeff. There's a lot of exploration. There's lots of time in the wild in this. And one of the things that's where Pathfinder differs from some of the other things we've played is the role that knowledge spells or knowledge skills play in the game. Knowledge skills are what you use to sort of learn about the things you're encountering. So in particular, adversaries. If you want to learn about what the vulnerabilities are of a certain monster, like in this version of the game, there's some monsters that just are not affected by or are incredibly resilient to certain kinds of damage. Like, for instance, skeletons don't take a lot of damage from piercing or slashing weapons, whereas with bludgeoning weapons, they take a shit ton of damage.
Right.
So that's a very simple one, but that's the kind of stuff that if you've got certain knowledges, you can make tests to try and figure out, like, oh fuck, what's this kind of ooze we're facing? What is this thing? What can it do? So they're pretty apart from the regular role playing kind of background stuff, they're really important in a tactical sense as well. So, anyway, Steve, does that push you one way or the other way towards one of those classes?
Let's do a wizard.
Let's do a wizard. Okay, cool. So give me a second, guys. I'm going to share a link I set up a Roll20 campaign a couple minutes before I logged on that we will use to play Rise of the Runelords. But I need to send you an invite.
Rise of the Runelords.
And you're thinking, Steve, you're going to play a half elf?
Yeah, sure.
Cool. Very cool. All right. So let me see here. Let me share this link in chat here, guys. Where is it? Chat. Boom. There we go. There you are. So if you click on that, unfortunately, I really should have. I don't think I'll share screen for today, just because it's going to look ugly as hell in there. And let me make characters for you quickly, so you guys can can play them. And there's Steve. Okay. And it is in Steve's journal. It can be edited by Steve. So there's your character. Your character is actually named Steve.
Perfect. Conventionally.
It's Jeff. Let's wait for you to join there, Jeff. Your character is cleverly named Jeff as well.
Nice.
You remember a couple of years ago when we played Warhammer 3rd Edition and Jaden was playing a character named Jaden?
Yeah.
I quit.
You made it easy for him to remember. Okay. So the first thing we're going to do then is I don't want to use the rolling technique for generating the stats. So I'll just like to use the purchase version. And you guys can find that on page 16 of the core rulebook.
16.
Yeah. And you have 20 points to purchase your attributes.
Excellent.
So yours, Steve-O, you're likely going to want to have a high intellect. And then if you want to see, Steve, for your character, what your racial modifiers will be, you can find the half-elf on page 24 of the core rulebook.
What's this game called?
It's called Pathfinder. Because I didn't know which adventure path we wanted to do.
Like it's called Iron Gods Pathfinder?
No, just Pathfinder. Did you follow the link that I sent? Or did you just log into Roll20?
I didn't get a link.
In the chat of the Hangout.
Oh, that's why.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay. There we go.
Okay.
Favorite classes. Where's its favorite class?
All right, roll 20. Be nice today.
And what we will do, guys, one of the things I want to mention as well is that we're going to be able to. Oh, Steve, I need you to put your headphones on, but I'm getting a lot of feedback.
Okay.
Sorry. As we advance here, because we're all learning Pathfinder either again or for me, it's really this will be the first time trying to run it as written. I'll wait for Steve to get his headphones on. Oh, there we go. So you guys can feel free to redesign your characters at any point. So as we get more familiar with the game, as we make mistakes with character generation and stuff like that, you guys can feel free to rework the characters as we go. So if as we get more familiar with the game, as we start incorporating new elements, you can feel free to make changes to your characters as we go.
Okay. I don't have any handouts, Kev.
You don't have, sorry?
Am I supposed to have a character sheet?
Oh, so did you just join? One sec here. You will. Yeah, just one sec here.
Okay.
Hold on here. Hold on. I gotta edit this. I think that. There we go. Okay. There you go. You got a Jeff character named Jeff.
Yep. I do.
Great. Okay. So if you go to so for your character, Jeff, obviously your intellect or it's like your dexterity is your most important stat. And page 16 is where you can find you have 20 points to spend amongst your attributes. And you can see what it costs you on that on table 1-1. And then we'll apply your racial modifiers afterwards. For you, Jeff, or Steve, it's pretty easy because it's just you get to add +2 to one of your attributes, whichever one you want.
Right.
And
Okay, so wait. How does this work? We start with 10s?
you start with, okay, so basically what it is you have, if you spend no points into an attribute, then you have a 10. So yeah, so effectively, if you spend, they all start at 10s, and then you can get more points if you lower one of your attributes, and then you, it costs you a progressively increasing amount to level it up. So like, for instance, if you want to start with a 16 in dexterity, it'll cost you 10 of your 20 points.
Oh, okay.
Okay. And then this is before your racial modifiers. So for you, Jeff, just be aware that you'll be getting +2 to your dexterity, +2 to your charisma, and then -2 to your strength.
Right. Okay.
See, this is one of the ways where the Unchained Rogue is a little better. Normally, the first sort of feat that most rogues take is a feat called Weapon Finesse, which allows you to add your dexterity bonus to attacks with certain melee weapons. The Rogue, the Unchained Rogue, automatically can do that. Yeah, so you automatically get Weapon Finesse at rank 1. And then at level 3, you can add your dexterity modifier to your damage roll instead of your strength. That's again a change from the core version. So that way you can do your, the DPS you're supposed to be doing. Now, one of the things we can do, guys, now that we know what class you guys are playing, there is a fun, well, I mean, it can be fun, sort of like random background generation system in Ultimate Campaign. We've done that in other games before. So do you want to give it a go for this one too, or do you want to sort of make up your own background?
No, I don't mind playing around with some of that stuff.
Okay, Jeff or Steve, what do you think?
Yes.
Okay, sweet.
It is always fun. Yeah.
There we go.
Then, guys, let's start off with, we'll do these the same time here. I'll let you tell me when you're finished purchasing your attributes, and then we'll start rolling.
So the first thing we do is attributes.
Yeah, we'll generate your attributes first.
I'm not allowed to type on this thing.
What was that, Jeff? Sorry,
Oh, I see. This is where you put it in.
And skill points. Because if I take a half up, I get extra skill points.
You do. So what skill points are is in this in Pathfinder you have a lot of opportunity to sort of particularly tweak what your skills are and how ranked they are. Each level that you will get a certain amount of skill points, and each point you put into your skill, that's another +1 to your dice rolls when you're using that skill. When you make your skill roll, you will add however many skill ranks you've got plus the related attribute, and then there are certain other modifiers you'll get, like from certain feats or from certain traits, or if you are trained in a class skill, you'll see that each of the classes has a different list of class skills. If you're trained in a class skill, you also get +3 to it. You can't have more ranks in a skill than what you start with, but what that gives you, Steve, is basically an extra skill. So you're going to be an even more skilled wizard.
Right. Well, it's either that or go elf and get some nice bonuses to my spell casting, or go half elf and get some nice bonuses to my skills.
Either is cool.
Yeah.
Take a look at what the other racial benefits are too. That might help you, because again, unlike a lot of the other games that we play, there's a pretty substantial list of specific benefits you get from playing that particular race.
Right. Yeah, I am.
Holy shit, Steve or Jeff, I forgot that halflings get +1 to all their saving throws.
That's kind of cool.
That's really fucking cool.
Hard to hit.
And you get a +1 size bonus to your AC and +1 on attack rolls.
I have my attributes done, but I haven't gone through the gone to the halfling stuff now.
Sure, that's page 26.
Okay, so it should start there. So +2 dex, +2 charisma, -2 strength.
Yep. So what did you know?
All right, so that makes my final stats: strength 8,
Okay.
dexterity 18, constitution 10, intelligence 14, wisdom 12, and charisma 15.
Very nice. So he's gonna be a chatty. He's chatty. He's bright, and he's incredibly dexterous.
Yeah.
I'm saying he. Maybe he's a she, but I was assuming.
Yeah, it'll probably be a he.
Okay.
So okay, so now where do I? So okay, just not very familiar with this sheet.
Sure. So what we'll do next is we will. You know what? Give me a sec here. What I'm gonna do is just. I'll put a quick background for Rise of the Runelords on it, and then I'll switch the share screen so I can just stay on that screen with you. All right, here we go. Images. You know, they changed the way that image searches work on Google Image in the last month or so, and it drives me nuts. It's harder to.
Okay, I see a bunch of things here. So race halfling.
Oops.
So we're starting at level 1.
You're starting at level 1. Yep. We
And
are doing this old school.
And we expect to go up to.
In this campaign, if we play the whole thing through, it leads you to, I believe, either 17 or 18.
Holy shit.
Yep. So that's the thing with every single one of the adventure paths. It's every single one of them takes you from level 1 up to between level 16 and level 20, depending on the particular adventure path, which is cool. So you really do get a chance to play through a a full campaign.
Right.
And you see the full lifespan of the character. And then each of the, like we talked about, each of the different adventure paths has a very different flavor to it. Iron Gods is still, Iron Gods is my favorite, but it is because that particular campaign just hits so many of my nerd buttons.
So halflings are normal age, same as humans?
I'm not too sure. It actually has it near the end of the character creation section, I believe.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so there we go. That's pretty cool. Let me share screen so the folks listening at home can join us in our character creation here. I mean, swap over to share screens here. Oops, wrong fucking button. How about I learn to push buttons? That would be extraordinarily helpful. Okay, share screen. Application. Boom, look at that. Present to everyone. There we go. All right. Okay, so let me just open up the character sheets here, guys, and I'll follow along with you. Now, I'm going to show you a little trick too, Steve-O, because there is actually one very badass thing about the Pathfinder thing. Because we are playing Pathfinder, this is one of the few games where they have... okay, so for Steve, you can actually... I'm going to close down that big sheet configuration thing for you.
Sure.
Because I don't think you need to be in there. Yeah, actually, what you want to be in is... Hold on. You want to be in... where is it?
Oh, you have to click on. What did I click on?
Yeah, I was looking at this earlier.
Maybe it's settings.
Yes, there we go. Okay, so Steve, if you take a look at your character sheet, now you can see where all the information you're going to want to add is.
Okay.
And one thing I'll show you, Steve, is when we get to the point where we're picking your spells, you see there's a little circle with an eye in it on the right side, top right of the screen.
Top right of the screen. Hold on here. Circle
It's
with
along
it.
the options where you go to like your character tab and whatnot. There's one there that's called Compendium. Do you see that?
Let me just do a quick find.
Sure. You just hover over.
Compendium.
So if you
Oh.
click on that, do you see where it is, Steve?
No, I'm sorry.
Okay. So the tab that's on the right side of the screen, like the banner there or whatever, the column, if you go to the very top of that, there's a bunch of different things. You can go to chat, you can go to settings. There should be one with an eye with like the letter I in a black circle. Right
Oh,
in the middle.
that. I see. Okay. Yep.
So you click on that. Now, and then if you go down to the bottom there and you click on spells, so boom, it'll display a shit ton of spells. What you can do is you can enter in. So here, I'm going to show you one little trick here. It's because as a wizard, you are starting with all cantrips in your spell book. So I'm just going to go over to where is it here? I don't know where spells go on this character sheet. Let me just display all. That'll be easier. Okay. So skills, skill notes, there's your skills, feats. Oh, here we go, spells. No, spell-like abilities, class features. There you go. It's equipment, custom roles, notes. I don't know where spells go on this. Let's see. I must be missing it here somewhere. Yep, someone's rolling something.
My starting age.
Oh, nice.
5.
Now, where is it? Jeez, I was looking at this the other day. It's very cool how much information they have on the sheet, but it is confusing as to where the fuck this stuff is. Let's see. I think maybe their abilities. All abilities.
2 foot 8 plus 2d4.
Boy, where does it go?
I am 3 foot 1.
Oh, you got a name for your guy already?
I'm 3 feet 1 is all I am.
Oh, how tall you are. 2'1". Holy shit, you're tiny.
Nice.
1 inch.
Traits? Is that over here? Let's see. Traits. Transmission abilities.
But I am. Oh, and I'm 35 pounds.
I wonder if when you add, let's see here. This sheet is confounding me. So it's not there. Why the heck? Because it's not, you don't list it under the abilities, you list it under something else. Oh, you know what? I wonder if settings, if we have to, sheet configuration. Haha, uses spells. Brilliant. Okay, so because your character uses spells, now get out of settings. Do we have the spells listed here? Under, let's see here, abilities. Spells. There we go. Okay, Steve, can you see what tab we're on now?
Spells.
Spells. Okay. So I'm going to show you a neat thing here, which I'll let you, it'll save you some time for selecting your shit here. So I'm under cantrips right now, right at the bottom.
Yep.
Okay, so I'm going to open it up. Now, one of the cantrips that you know, because you know all wizard cantrips, is Detect Magic. So I'm going to search here for Detect Magic. And I'm seeing it on the right-hand side. Are you watching the stream right now, or are you watching your sheet?
I was watching my sheet. I'm looking for you. I'm looking for the stream. Where the heck is it? Okay, now I see you. Right.
Okay, so you see where my mouse is over the side here?
Yeah.
Check this out. Watch this. Watch this. Boom. Drag and drop fills in all the rules for you.
Nice.
Yeah. So that's what
amazing.
you'll do when you're picking your spells and stuff. I'll be right back, guys. I just need to go to the washroom, and then I will answer any questions you got about character creation.
Alrighty. Alright.
So you never set your attributes yet, Steve?
I know right now. Pretty predictable. $12, 18, 10. we get 20 points, right?
Yeah.
To play with, okay. Oh, I don't get -2 Constitution. What am I saying? That's 14. Nice.
All right, I'm back. Let me. Oh, you know what? I gotta turn my camera off to get myself back in here. Turn camera off. 220. Refresh. What race did you decide on, Steve?
I think I'm gonna go with half elf.
Half elf, very cool.
Yeah, it's gonna be a she.
A she, interesting. Okay,
Yeah.
Love it. Oh, and her name is Elira.
I think so.
Very cool. Okay, so let's see here. The Jeff, I'm not sure if you saw the thing I did there with the drag and drop. I think you should be able to do that with some of the race features as well too. So if you want to save yourself some typing for your abilities in the compendium, I believe there should be some things in there that you can cut and paste. You may have to cut and paste rather than drag and drop. But you can pull up the full information about halflings there. Similarly to Steve, if you go to half elf, you can pull up all the information about half elves as well. It's a pretty cool feature in this. They've got something like that for 5th edition D&D as well, but yeah. Okay, cool. So Lyra is a half elf. So there's a couple other things. In this particular game, the devil is in the details. So every little bit of information that you've got on your character sheet or on about the race that you're playing, all that stuff is important. So the fact that, say, you count as both an elf and a human, that's important because there are certain spells and certain items and things like that that will affect only elves or that elves won't be affected by or things like that.
Right.
Ooh, and you're immune to magic sleep effects. Not bad, not bad.
Yeah.
And +2 to your perception checks. That's also cool.
Yes.
So the order to fill out this sheet is not very straightforward.
No, that's why the best bet is to rely on the core book. The sheet is sort of designed to be able to find information in an easy way, not to create a character necessarily easily. So what was it you were looking for? Trying to figure out
what order to do things.
Sure.
So I need to finish applying all my half-elf stuff.
Yeah. So then the next thing will be to go to your class. So if you go to that Unchained Rogue that I sent, that'll tell you what your starting hit points are. So your hit dice is a D8 as a rogue, and then you add your Constitution modifier, if any. So your starting hit points for you, I believe, is an 8.
Yeah. Okay. So.
And then what you've got is you can pick your skills. So if you go down on your character sheet, either to the click on all, or just go to the skills tab.
On our max hit points, just put 8.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have 8 hit points. Well, no, see, that's weird.
What's happening? Rogue. The hit dice. You're gonna put D8.
No, like I don't understand how to add hit points to my character.
Here, I'll show you. It's you see where it says next to level, it says D and then bracket hit die.
Oh, there.
If I put D8 there,
Yeah.
and then I should be able to add hit points now up to 8.
Okay, I see there. Yeah.
So you should be able to make that change.
You don't see all the changes I make.
No, well, it could just be a lag on my end here. I do see all the like I see your stats and stuff like that.
Yeah, but you can't see my name.
No, I can't. Let me try closing it and reopening it.
Oh no, there it is. It's just not on the top like it is on mine. There
Oh yeah, I just had to reopen it. Unbungus.
Wow.
I love it. Ubungus. Leaf name.
Humongous.
Love it. Okay. Oh, one of the things I want to steal from the Glass Cannon podcast too, guys, is for you to cast your character. Think of an actor or actress who is playing that character. We've done that in Star Wars before too.
We've done that lots of times.
Yeah. I would like to carry on that tradition with this because I think it's a pretty. It helps when you're listening to picture what these NPCs in particular are looking like and acting like. I asked Paul Giamatti as a shit ton of things in over the course of my camp. It's my go-to guy.
Zach Galifianakis.
Yeah. I can't remember if I told you, Steve, but I had someone comment on one of our Traveler episodes where they misheard and they thought when you said Jean Reno that you said Gerard Depardieu.
Right.
So they listened for half of the episode picturing fucking Gerard Depardieu.
That's weird.
Okay.
I think I'm gonna go with Andrew Garfield.
Interesting. Yeah. He's kind of got an oversized head anyway.
Yeah, he's kind of got a funny head.
Yeah.
So that's my cast for Ubungus.
Awesome. It's actually under description. You can just put down Andrew Garfield, but a halfling.
So do we roll for hit points?
No, you start with maximum.
Okay.
First level you get max.
Yeah. So then you're going to go to your skills tab, Jeff.
Yeah.
What's your intellect bonus? Is it +2?
Yes.
Okay, so that means you have 10 skill ranks. You can't put more than 1. So basically what that means is you can pick 10 skill ranks. Then what you're going to want to do
is the next thing I should do.
Yeah. And what you'll do is under max skill ranks, where is it here? Skill ranks, why is it doing that? Extra skill ranks remaining. Total skill ranks. Why is that doing that? I'm just going to click back to the core for yours for a second, Jeff. I just want to see if there's an area where
and the skill points
skills per level
from the rogue, right?
Yeah. So it's your class. So you have 8 skills per level. Your base attack bonus is +0 at first level.
Okay, so it's 8 plus my modifier, which makes it 10, right?
Yes. Okay. So at first level, what you can do as well is you pick a favored class for your character, and with your favored class, you can either get +1 hit point or you can get +1 skill per level. It's your choice. So if you choose the skill, then just bump that FC skill up by 1. If I'm assuming Rogue is going to be your favorite class.
Yeah.
Okay. So
I see. Like the FC hit points thing or the FC skill.
That's right. Yeah.
That's a tough one.
Yeah, and you can make a different choice each level as well. Steve, you get the same option as well. Assuming you're going to pick wizard as your favored class, then your character will get either +1 hit point or +1 skill rank for each level that they take in their favored class.
Right.
I'm going to go with skill at the first level.
So, Steve, I'm just going to click back on 1 second here just for your core thing, because I want to make sure you've got the... Okay, so for you, your skills per level for a wizard are actually 2.
Plus intelligence.
2 plus intelligence, but it will include the modifier for intelligence on your skill tab, or it should at least. Let's see here. Yes, it does. What's your intelligence? Is it 18 or is it 16? 18.
Yeah.
It's actually +4, 6. Yeah, that's right. Okay. Okay, so now, so you still have more skill ranks remaining there, Steve, and then you can choose to get 1 extra skill rank, or you can get 1 extra hit point.
Okay.
And then if you have taken training in a class skill, well, there's 2 ways you can do it, guys. You can go through and tick off. You see where it says CS on the skills tab? It's total ranks, then CS.
Yeah.
CS is class skill. If you have training in a class skill, you get +3 on top of what other modifiers. So maybe just each of your class skills, tick those so that when you get training in the middle, automatically add that +3 in for you.
Right. Okay. Acrobatics, appraise, bluff.
So what appraise does is for identifying value of things. And if we're in the game that we're playing, where you're going to be finding shit on monsters and in ruins and stuff like that, that is potentially a helpful skill. But one of the neat things is every level you get, you're going to get the same amount of skill points. And what you can choose to do is just like bump up all your skills that you already have by 1, or you can spend them around to get other skills. You're also not restricted to your class skills. You get the extra added benefit of the class skills by getting the +3 bonus, but you don't have to do that. So like, Jeff, if you wanted to take, say, I don't know, what's the thing that you're not trained in? Knowledge planes. If you, for whatever reason, wanted to take a rank in knowledge planes, you can feel free to do that. It's just that you won't get the class skill bonus to that. Whereas Steve is trained in all knowledge skills, or not trained, but he has all knowledge skills as a class skill. So every knowledge skill that Steve takes gives him +3 on top of whatever his intelligence bonus and his ranks are. Oh, Steve, your perception you can't put more than 1 rank in.
Thank you.
Yeah, so you gotta you're limited by what your level is.
Okay.
And did you choose, Steve, whether you wanted to take an extra hit point or extra skill rank?
I haven't decided yet. I think I'm probably going to take a skill point.
Skill point, okay. That is a common choice. There are other neat things like when we get more familiar, I want to get us familiar with the core stuff first, but there's lots of very, very cool ways you can customize your character in Pathfinder. Like you can pick different skill options. There's like, they're listed in the advanced player's guide, and I'll let you flip through that to see what those might be. But there's tons and tons of ways to very neatly customize your character by modifying class abilities with an archetype, or by modifying your racial benefits by swapping out for different racial traits and stuff like that. But again, like I don't want to, for the purpose of this one, I don't want to get lost in minutia. I want us to focus on, or lost on the options, I should say, and just focus on making some really neat characters to start with here.
All right. Now I need to put 1 skill in a whole bunch of skills.
Yeah, you got 10 trained skills. That's crazy.
11.
11? Oh, because you're putting the extra point in.
Yeah.
That's fucking cool. So you guys don't have, if you're interested in not having crossover, Steve has taken training in knowledge arcana, knowledge history, and that's it.
All right.
See, what I'll do for you too, I'm just gonna click off all your class skills so that you have all those marks. You'll be getting the extra bonus from for being trained in class skills.
Okay.
Okay, so give me a sec here. So you class skill is appraise.
This is already ticked off. Maybe not.
Nope. I'm gonna see like so. You'll see your appraise has gone up to a +8 now.
Oh, nice.
There's also very comprehensive rules for crafting magical items, crafting all sorts of other kinds of items, and we're going to use all of those rules. So if you want to build, scribing scrolls for you in particular, Steve, is something very cool. Basically, if you want to spend any of your starting money to scribe some scrolls of spells, so you've got, extra copies of really useful things, or if there's, an unusual spell you don't expect to use an awful lot, but that you want to have at least a one casting of it on hand, it costs, basically, you only have to pay the components cost. So whatever the price of scribing scrolls is, you're going to spend half that.
All right. Hey, when do I use spellcraft?
Spellcraft is a lot of uses, actually. Spellcraft is used to identify magic items. It's used to identify what other so like one of your cantrips is detect magic. Detect magic, if you've got it prepared, sees a lot of use for identifying magic items.
Okay.
So that, and then also for like countering spells. If you want to see all the different uses, it is on page 106.
106.
So like identifying. Oh yeah. So like if you find a scroll or you find like a spell book from an enemy spellcaster, what you'll use spellcraft for is to figure out how to cast those spells and then copy them into your book.
Nice. Okay.
Okay, so I got the skills done now.
Okay.
So now I need to do my saving throws?
Yeah, record your saving throws. So your saving throw bonuses will come from your class, which plus
so
2 to your reflex.
Plus 2 to reflex.
Yep.
So where's saves? Under defense?
If you go to your core tab, you'll see under the same, where is it here? Not under defenses, under core. There you go. Scroll down to your class. So under rogue, you're going to click or modify the reflex save to be +2.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
And then it'll automatically calculate it for you.
So what's BAB?
That is your base attack bonus.
So it should be 0 right now for rogue.
That's right.
Perfect.
So the way that base attack bonus works is that you take that and then you add your whatever stat is modifying your attack. So if it is, say, a melee weapon, absent any other kind of special conditions, you're going to add your strength to that. If it is a ranged weapon, you're going to add your dex to that. Unless it's thrown. It's like you add your strength to it. But for you, dex, because you've got weapon finesse or the finesse training as an unchained rogue, you will always you'll always be adding your dex to the attack. Okay, let's see here. So you got that. So the next thing then, Jeff, is just recording your abilities or your class things.
Okay.
So there'll be things like your sneak attack, your trap finding, your finesse training. Those are your 3 class abilities you get, and then we can start rolling up some stuff. Now, Steve, did you finish up
under abilities?
I'm sorry? Yes, that's right, under abilities. Now, you'll see also as you're entering your abilities, it'll be under class features, I think is what you want to add. Just click on that little plus symbol, and it'll allow you to add something. There you go. And then what you'll do is when you click down, it'll tell you what rule. So this will be a class feature, and the source is your first class, and then you just enter in the name And then if you click next to the description to expand it,
Yeah.
what that'll do, so I didn't open on mine. Let's see here. Boom. You can add in the rules for it. And then you can also set the frequency. So if it's something that's once per day, like your character, I think you can use this. A lot of this is always, but you can add the frequency for how often you can use it. And then if it does damage, say, you can add that in as well. So you can close a description and then open up attack and damage. So say like for your sneak attack, if you want to have it roll the damage for it, then you can just add in the damage dice for that. So when you get a successful sneak attack, you can hit that button. There are a lot of fast macros at the top of the character sheet. You can see where there's those tabs like all ability checks int and stuff like that. Those are for fast navigation through the sheet in play. And when you add a special ability and that has to roll damage, then it'll show up on there. Does that make sense, Jeff?
I think so. Well,
So, okay, Steve-O, where are you in character creation right now?
I am done my skills, and I am. Where am I?
Okay, so I just moved you back to the core. Okay,
Yeah.
so then you did your skills. You have your your class hit points. You're a wizard, so you have 1d6, not 1d8, 1d4.
Okay. Classic.
1d4 is from AD&D and previous editions.
Right.
You're slightly more durable in Pathfinder.
That's good. All right.
So you get d6, which is good. You got a con modifier, so you're not super frail.
Right. Yeah, I thought I'd go that way.
That's not a bad bet. Okay, so your spells, we can. Okay, well, here's one thing that you need to decide about your character, and you may be looking at this already. I'm looking at the rules for wizard on page 78.
Okay.
So what you can choose to do is you can choose to specialize in a school. If you choose to specialize in one of the schools, then you get certain bonuses, and then you have to pick forbidden schools, like schools that are much harder for you to memorize.
Okay.
If you go to...
If I don't pick a school?
If you don't pick a school, then you are considered a universalist. So you don't have a benefit, you don't have a downside, and then what you do is on page 82, it'll tell you what you get as your special ability.
All right.
So if you go to 82, you can see that you get this cool ability called Hand of the Apprentice. You see that?
Oh, interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So what it is like it says there, as a standard action, you can make a single attack using a melee weapon at a range of 30 feet. You sort of like, toss your staff or your whatever out in the air, and it lashes out, hits the target, and then flashes back to your hand. Kind of like Thor's hammer.
Right.
But you use your intelligence as the modifier for it, and you can do that a number of times per day, equal to 3 plus your intelligence modifier.
Cool.
Mm-hmm. So as you can see, like each of the different other specialty schools get some other different thing, but that's what the universalist gets.
Huh.
The specialists do get the added benefit of they get to memorize 1 extra spell per day of their highest level that they know, as long as it comes from that specialist school. So that's the upside for that. And again, you can feel free to change once we start playing. If you decide to specialize your character, we can feel free to do that.
Okay.
Okay. But if you're going to do a universalist, and that's easy enough, we'll add the other decision you got to make is your arcane bond. So what this is you can see all about it on page 78. Hey, you get it at level 1. Cool.
78.
So at first level, wizards form a powerful bond with an object or creature. This bond can take one of 2 forms: a familiar, like some kind of animal, or a bonded object. A familiar is a magical pet that enhances the wizard's skills and senses and can aid him in magic, while a bonded object is an item a wizard can use to cast additional spells or serve as a magical item. Once you make that choice, it is permanent and cannot be changed. The rules for familiars are on page 82. If you want to see what the benefit you get from having a familiar, it's listed there. Familiars gain more power as you gain power. So the more levels you gain, the more special abilities you get. So for instance, at like first to second level, it's sort of, you have an empathic link with it. So you get a sense of its emotions, but it's nothing more miraculous than that. But by the time you get to, say, level 10 or level 11, you can speak with it, like it'll talk back to you, and it can speak with other animals of its same kind for you. There's other neat things. So like it can deliver touch spells at level 3. And then what the bonded object does is listed on page 78. So what it does is it allows you to, well, first off, if you pick a bonded object, you have to have it in your hand. So like a staff or a wand or whatever, it has to be, or an amulet or a ring or a weapon, it has to be on you, or it's harder for you to get your spells. Oh shit! Did you take any points in concentration for your skills?
Oh no, I guess I should do that.
Yeah, concentration is what you will use to cast spells. This game, like I said, is very simulationist. Attacks of opportunity can disrupt spell casting.
Oh, I don't see. I don't see concentration as one of the skills.
That's weird. 1 second here. Maybe it's under the settings. Hold on. Settings. Why is that not listed? Wait a minute. Is it? Concentration might be spellcraft. Hold on. That's what that might actually. Hold on. Let me double check here. No, it's. Let me quickly check here. Let's see here. Concentration checks 206, 207. So let's see what it says.
206. These books smell good.
Yeah. Okay, so a concentration check is it's just a roll with, you add your caster level and then you add your ability score. So it's not a skill. Forgive me. I just know that. So ignore me for that, Steve. That you can. Okay. That's not something you need to worry about. Okay. But when we're picking feats, there is a feat called I think it's called Combat Caster, which gives you a +4 to your concentration checks. And yeah, it's called Combat Casting. So it's one of the options you might want to pick. I mean, there's a ton of very cool feats that you can pick. Whoops, what's beeping here? But okay. So let's see here. So if you know you're going to be a universalist, Steve, then we'll add your abilities. Maybe we can do that between now and the next thing. If you want to get to the really juicy bits of playing a wizard, you start, because you're a wizard, you start with, your spell book has all of your spells, all the cantrips in it, so all the 0 level spells. And the 0 level spells you can cast as many times per day as you want. So that is, you will pick 3 of them. Hold on, actually, which is modified by your intelligence. What's your intelligence again, Steve? Is it 18?
18.
Okay, so I am looking on page 17 of the core rulebook. I'm looking to where 18 is, and you can see where. Do you have that?
Yep.
Okay. You see where I go across from 18? It says 1 bonus first level spell. So if I go from 18, I go across. I see +4.
Intelligence gains 1.
Page 17. In the chart there, table 1-3.
Got it.
So I go down to 18, 19. That's a modifier of +4, and then I go across. There's 0 and a slash, and then there's under first there's 1,
Right.
That means you get one extra. You can cast one more first level spell per day than anyone else, than someone with a lesser intelligence.
Nice.
Yeah. So you can cast 2 first level spells and as many 0 level spells as you want per day.
Okay.
Okay. So
Good.
what you will want to do is, let's see here. It says you will pick the spells that you'll prepare each day from your spell book, and you will be picking, let's see here, it's 3 first level spells of your choice and a number of additional first level spells equal to your intelligence modifier. That's fucking cool. So your intelligence modifier is a +4, which means, Steve, you get to pick 7 first level spells that are in your spell book.
Excellent.
So if you go to, let's see here, page. There, page 233 of the core rulebook. There's your list of first level spells you can pick from. So just start jotting down 7 of those, and now I'll show you how we can cut and paste them into your character sheet.
Alrighty, it's almost all of them. All right.
Yeah, it's a lot. How is Ubungus coming?
Okay. I just got a 16 on my stealth check.
You got a 32 on your stealth check. You rolled a 16, and then you got +16. What the heck is that modifier?
Why is it +16?
Well, let's see here. Your stealth, you have...
Maybe I wasn't supposed to put +4 racial. Maybe it's already doing +4 because of size somewhere. 1, 2,
let's see here.
3,
Your dex is a 4, right?
Yeah.
Here, did you put size in, and does it... I'm just going to go to core here for a sec. Sorry for skipping around your character sheet here, Jeff. Where'd you put size?
Breaking it down. It doesn't break it down.
Size small. Oh, it probably, if that's a drop-down option, it probably includes all of those. So it probably includes a +1 to your attacks as well. Because, yeah, it does. Check it out on the attacks tab. Look under size. It gives +1.
Oh, yeah, I see that.
So it automatically does. So, okay, so you just take the that +4 modifier out.
Okay, but so it should have been +12. 12?
Well, because it's 1 point, because you got training in it. It's a class skill you're trained in, so it's 3 more, which is +4. You have a dex of +4, which is +8, and you've got +4 from your size, so it's +12.
So should I be putting my other racial bonuses into the race column?
Yes, as long as they're not size related.
Perception. Let's see what it did there. +7. So that would be 1 plus my wisdom +3. Yeah, that seems right.
Yeah. Oh, Steve, you chose the extra skill rank, right?
Yes.
Okay, just give me a second. I'm just going to modify your race because you've made that selection to get the favorite class skill point. There we go. Cool. Okay. All right.
Yeah, it must be adding that size thing in automatically. But I don't know if it did the saving throws thing.
Let's see here. Saving throws.
So let me just roll 1 for it. It's doing
+0.
It's not adding anything. Okay.
Yeah, so that's right.
No, but it should.
No, because your fort's +0. +0 from...
I'm lucky. Halfling luck. Halflings receive a +1 racial bonus on all saving throws.
Did you add +1 to your saving throws?
No, I'm not sure where to put it.
Let me see here. I would... Let me just check your notes. I think, hold up here. There might be under the settings. Sheet configuration. Let's see here.
The slightly crazy character sheet. I mean, it's awesome.
It's, yeah. And
But
I think
it's like, there's like a learning curve on using it, that's for sure.
Absolutely. Well, you know, and this is the thing with what I've always found in the past with Pathfinder is just because there's so many fucking options, and you know, I mean, it can be extraordinarily daunting to stacking. Okay, to you know, to try and just throw together a fun character and play a fun game. All right, so I don't think that there are. What I would do is just put under maybe resist, +1, +1, +1.
Yeah, okay. And then I also have +2 against fear.
That I would put under notes. So you see if you click down under saving throws. Where's your notes? There you go. Oh, and then you can tick on it and it say include save notes in roll. So if you always want to be reminded that you get to add that, you just click on that little tab there, that option, and it will always include it.
Oh. Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'll try that after I fill it in.
Okay, let's see here. Okay, base spells per day.
It also says intelligent, or it says halflings with high intelligence scores can choose from the following extra languages, but nowhere does it tell me what a high intelligence is.
Oh, intelligence is your intelligence modifier.
So what does it mean if you have high intelligence?
Well, because if you have an intelligence over 10, oh, sorry, if you have intelligence over 11, you get a modifier. That's a high intelligence.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I should gain an extra language.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay. So against fear, +2. +2, right? +2 versus fear. Fearless, +2 versus fear.
Okay. And let's see here.
Include. So what happens if I roll something? Okay. Well, that's cool. So if I roll it and then the note's there, then if it was a fear check, I would just know to add +2. That's pretty good. That's probably worth showing the note every time, because otherwise you'll all of a sudden forget it. Okay, I think I have all my racial features and all my class features.
Awesome. Oh, fuck, this is awesome. It'll track spells prepared as well, too. This is so great. So if you want to look at your set, like say first level spells or second level spells or whatever, you can look at just those. You want to see your whole spell book, you can do that. And you just tick on how many you prepared, and it'll track it automatically in your spells per day. Automatically calculates the save DC as well. Very cool. Yeah, your save looks awesome there. Cool. Okay, then the next thing you're going to want to pick then, Jeff, if you got all your class information added, is as a first level character, you get 1 feat. And you can find the feat on page, the big list starts on page 114. And remember that you have weapon finesse for free already.
Right.
So what that means is when you attack, then you will be automatically adding your dexterity with certain weapons. Basically, any rogue weapon that you're going to be using, you're adding your dexterity to hit with it, whether you're at range or hand to hand.
Right. And so bows normally add strength, right?
That's right, yeah. Like you will still be adding your strength, so it'll be -1 to damage until you hit level 3, but then you're going to start adding your dexterity to damage because of your class feature.
Oh, I see. All right. I have to have an attack bonus of +1 to use deadly aim.
So how do you see your character fighting? Because that's one of the things to, well, I guess here's the thing, is if you want to focus on combat, then you're going to want to look at things like point blank shot, which is it's a step towards a lot of feats in this are chained. There's certain ones you have to take as prerequisites to get later ones. Doing a melee attack, or sorry, a range attack into melee in Pathfinder, you suffer a -4 to hit because it's just hard. Like it's people are moving around in combat and whatever. What precise shot allows you to do is to ignore that. So if you want to be able to throw daggers in when someone else is fighting, that's a helpful skill or helpful feat. But to get there, you need to take point blank shot. If you want to be in combat, something like what is it called? I think dodge is a step towards mobility. Dodge gives you a +1 dodge bonus to your AC.
Yeah.
The types of bonuses matter in this because the same type of bonus, like you've got one thing that gives you a dodge bonus and another thing gives, well, dodge is actually a bad example because those do stack. But let's say you've got a feat bonus. You got something that's a feat bonus and you got another thing that's a feat bonus. You take the higher of the two. You don't take both. But dodge is on the way to mobility.
So when would I ever get another feat?
You will get another feat at every, I think, 3rd level. Or maybe it's every 2nd level. And then, so let's see here. The regular...
Well, I think point blank shot is definitely the correct one to take.
Okay. So you will get a new feat every 2nd level. So on every character gets one at 1st, 3rd, 5th, 7th, and so on. And then you might get extra ones from your class as well. No, you get these very cool things called rogue talents, which are really fucking badass. Lots of different ways you can really customize your character.
Okay, there I added
Nifty.
point blank shot. So now, do I need to do something? I guess I need to add that somewhere when I actually set up my attacks.
Sorry,
Does
for
it
which?
automatically add the +1 to?
It does not, no.
No.
So you're going to want to add that.
When I add a weapon, I'll do +1 to hit and damage.
Yes.
This
Yeah.
is within 30 feet.
Because it's, yeah, and what you can do is, I think you can, let's see here. So you look in your feats, I think you've got an option of making it display. Okay, so that's your short description of it. I don't know what happens when you click on it. There you go. Love that. Yeah, easy peasy. Okay. Okay, well, Steve, how goes the selection?
The spell selection, I think, is complete for now.
Nice.
And I was just looking at feats.
Okay, cool. So you will get, I don't think you get a bonus feat as a half-elf. Only humans get a bonus feat at 1st level.
Right.
But you'll get 1 feat. So if there's any feat that looks particularly cool to you, like combat casting or some other kind of crafting thing or whatever you want.
Right.
One thing you will want to look at as you gain levels is the potential of meta magic feats. Actually, item creation feats and meta magic feats are really fucking cool as you gain levels.
And how do I do meta magic?
So what meta magic is its ways of modifying your spells. You have to, you're not gonna be able to do it for a couple of levels because you have to use higher level spell slots. So if you take a 1st level spell and let's say you want to make it last for half as 50% longer than what it normally does. That is, you have to have the extend meta magic feat, and then when you cast it as at a higher level slot.
Here they are. Meta magic. Empower spell, enlarge spell, extend spell, heighten spell, maximize, quicken, silence, still, and widen. Right.
Here's another cool. So if you choose not to invest in that, what you can do is you can get rods. You can get magic items that will do it for you. Yeah. So it's pretty cool. Okay, so while you are selecting your feat, Jeff, you want to roll some backstory here for your guy?
Sure.
Okay. So
now, is this different than the traits?
This is going to help. What it's going to do is going to help us give us a list of the traits that are available.
Okay.
Okay.
There are traits that are specific to the setting.
Well, what I'm going to do is you guys will get 2 traits from your background, like just from your backstory. We'll pick which ones are appropriate for it.
Okay.
The ones that you think are the best. Then you'll also get one of the traits from the what do you call it? From the
Adventure path.
yes, the adventure path as well.
Okay, cool.
Is there one that you sort of looked at on the adventure path that looks really cool?
Well, I thought it would be kind of fun to make him a giant slayer.
Nice. So his family was killed by giants?
Yeah. And that's how he's ended up here at Sandpoint.
Very cool. Yeah, that's awesome. And what we'll do between now and the next session, or our first session, is I'll fill in. I'm going to read through all the stuff for the first adventure. We'll have, like, I've got electronic copies of the thing as well too, so I'll be able to upload all the maps and shit like that onto Roll20 as well, which is going to be awesome. And I'll read all about the backstory of Sandpoint too, so we can figure out. I'll be able to give you more information about that. Who am I kidding? I'm going to be fucking emailing you guys all weekend about this. So, okay, so let's roll. Give me a percentile roll, please, Jeff.
Is that on here? Oh yeah, D100. Boom. What? 170?
Oh, you rolled twice. You rolled
Oh,
two
yeah, I'll do that again. 23.
23. So your homeland is a halfling settlement. So you gain access to, and let's see here. What you can do is, if you open up, this is probably the simplest ways. If you do a Google search for Pathfinder trait, and then whatever trait I'm telling you, then you'll be able to just display it. Because there is the Pathfinder system reference document online is incredibly robust.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's the 2 ones. And what we're going to do, these are just going to be your list of available ones. So what we'll do is you can pick 2 of them. Once we finish your whole backstory, you can pick 2 of those. And then you can also get that Giant Slayer one.
Okay, perfect.
Because you grew up in a halfling settlement, you gain access to the civilized social trait. So civilized is the first one, and then well-informed is the second one.
So those are my 2 options, basically?
Note to start. That's just your background. You're going to get a pretty big list. But what you might want to do is just write them down or like type them out somewhere. Write down all of them, and then you can look at them and figure out which one you think fits best.
Yeah, just let me open a notepad, actually.
Sure.
Okay, so that was civilized.
Civilized and well-informed. So you grew up in a halfling settlement. Let's see about your parents. Again, percentile. Well, you said your parents are dead, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So you also gain access to the orphaned social trait. So orphaned is another one. Let's roll percentile again and see if you've got any brothers or sisters.
Okay. Percentile. 62.
62. Ooh, 1d4 plus 1 siblings.
Oh, wow.
So give me 1d4 roll. 1, so 2 siblings. And you gain access to the Kin Guardian combat trait. Honestly, that one you can ignore because it's really shitty. If you're playing a campaign where there's like a brother and sister, or 2 brothers or 2 sisters in a campaign, or father and son, or whatever, it's great because it gives you a bonus when you're defending a family member. You guys aren't playing family members, so it's
right. That one's useless.
It's an option, but it's gonna be utterly mechanically useless in this one. Okay, so then let's now give me a percentile. We're gonna do the circumstances of your birth. So percentile.
Okay.
12. Low class birth. You were born among peasants or slum denizens. You grew up working the land around a village or manor, practicing a rudimentary trade, or begging in a settlement. You gain access to the poverty-stricken social talent or trait. And then would you kindly give me a 2d20 roll? This will tell us your parents' profession.
13.
13. They were serfs or peasants.
Okay.
Then let's roll your major childhood event. So now a percentile dice again, please. So 58. Where is it? Inheritance. A great sum of wealth or property was bequeathed to you at an early age, providing you with extraordinary means. Daily costs of living have ceased to concern you, and you've learned that there is little that money cannot buy. You gain access to the rich parents' social trait. That's interesting.
Maybe it actually was like, because so much of my village was wiped out, I sort of inherited like the village's wealth.
Sure. So then you are a rogue. So let's roll on the rogue background.
Yep.
Give me another percentile chance.
Yep. 55.
The trained. Your early talent for feats of agility and acrobatics garnered you an experienced mentor. Impressed by your natural ability, this mentor taught you how to fight, dodge, and throw. He may have been a master thief, a circus performer, a fencing master, or a swashbuckling pirate. You gain access to the mentored social trait. So mentored is your next one.
Yep.
Then let's check for influential associates. These are people you met throughout your early life. Another percentile, please. 51. The academic. One of your associates had such a lust for knowledge that she could never be satisfied with simple answers or obvious solutions. This desire for knowledge frequently exceeded her need for companionship, but you were the single exception. Through this association, you developed a keen appreciation for numbers, geometry, logic, hard study, and problem solving. You gain access to the mathematical prodigy magical trait. The mathematical prodigy is your next one. That actually might sound like Steve's character.
Right.
Then let's roll your. Okay, actually, I don't like that section. Relationship with a fellow adventurer. Interesting. Oh, actually, here, let me do this. Let's roll your romantic relationships. Give me a D20 roll, please.
17.
Experience, but no substantial relationships. You've had a fling or two, but have so far shied away from any ties or commitments. Interesting. And then another percentile check for me, please.
62.
62 is, criminal connections. That's what your relationship with fellow adventurers, with Alira, is criminal connections. And the final thing is your character drawback. Give me another percentile roll, please.
Percentile. 14.
14. So that is family. Your family means everything to you, and there's nothing you wouldn't do for them. Maybe your ties extend to your entire clan or bloodline, or perhaps there's one specific member of your family you hold closer than any other. You gain access to the family ties drawback. And what a drawback is if you take the drawback, you get another trait. So 3 traits rather than just 2.
Okay.
Okay? So take a look at those, see which of those makes sense for you, or which ones you like.
So I can be civilized, well-informed, orphaned, poverty-stricken, rich parents, mentored, mathematical, criminal connections, or the family ties drawback.
That's right, yeah.
Okay.
Steve, how goes the spell selection?
Pretty good. Yeah, I'm done here.
Nice. Okay. Did you add your spells to your spell book?
Not yet.
Okay. So what we'll do is, well, we can do that in between. Well,
Sure.
So maybe we'll do, just for the sake of the live stream is we'll roll up your character's backstory.
Sure.
Okay. So let's start with you were half elf, right?
Yes.
So give me a percentile roll. Let's roll your homeland.
My Heimland. All right. Hold on. Percentile.
Yes, please.
D100.
Yep.
Here we go. Rolling.
Boom. 95. Ooh, you grew up in a forest. So just like Jeff, Steve, what I'm going to suggest is just make a list of these traits and then do a Google search for Pathfinder trait and then whatever each of the individual ones is.
Okay.
And then I'll tell you what those modifiers are. So the first one you gain access to is log roller.
Log roller, nice.
Log roller, because you grew up in a forest. Let's find out about your parents. Give me another percentile roll, please.
Log roller. Parents rolling. For parents, 12.
Both your parents are alive.
All right. Parents alive.
Okay. And then give me another percentile roll. Let's roll about your siblings.
74.
74. You have no siblings.
Only child.
Only child. Okay, so the next is, let's see here. Okay, so that's happened. Sorry, I'm just trying to find here. Circumstances of your birth. Give me another percentile roll, please.
Kapow, 65.
65. 65 is middle class. You were born to the middle class, which includes merchants, artisans, and tradesmen, or tradespeople. You likely grew up in a good-sized settlement, and one of your parents is likely associated with a guild or other trade organization. As a free person, you don't experience the bondage of serfdom or peasantry, but you also lack the privilege of nobility. You gain access to the artisan social trait and the merchant social trait. So artisan and merchant are another two you could choose. Remember, at the end of this, what you'll do is you'll pick two of those, and then if you choose to take your drawback as well, you get to pick three.
Okay.
Okay. Give me another percentile roll. Let's see your parents' profession.
79.
79. Parents were artisans. No change. Same social trait. So they were cross people of some kind.
Okay.
Okay. Let's roll your major childhood event. Another percentile.
80.
Mentorship or patronage. A mentor or patron took an interest in your development and volunteered to train or sponsor you. This creature's motives might not be entirely clear, but without its influence, you would not be who you are. You gain access to the mentored social trait.
All right.
Then let's see your adolescent training as a wizard. You're a wizard.
25.
25. Fitting in. You hail from interesting. You hail from a long line of sorcerers or from a community known for its natural affinity with magic. Your manifestation of wizardry talent, as opposed to blood-based sorcery, caused you to hide those talents at a young age, and then to disguise them as sorcery to the best of your ability later. You still retain some tricks from this early misdirection. You gain access to the Shrouded Casting magical trait. The Shrouded Casting is the next one.
Okay.
Then let's roll on your influential associates. Give me a percentile roll again.
Influential associates.
14. 14. The confidant. There was a person in your life to whom you could tell anything. She knows the deepest secrets and your emotional weaknesses and vulnerabilities just as you know hers. This person could be a valuable friend and a frightening enemy, so you make sure to never divulge her secrets or give her a reason to do so with yours. You gain access to the trustworthy social trait.
Okay.
The trustworthy is your next one. Then we will roll romantic relationships. Give me a D20 roll, please.
Romantic. Oh, okay. D20. Hold on. 8.
8. Several significant relationships. You've engaged in a number of partnerships, but for some reason or another, your relationships always fail. So Alira has left a string of broken hearts behind her.
Yeah, typical.
And then give me another percentile check too. So this is your relationship with fellow adventurers.
75.
You met on a pilgrimage, caravan, or journey. So you met each other. There's some kind of criminal connection. But you also met on a caravan, pilgrimage, or journey, the two of you guys.
All right.
And then a character drawback. Give me another percentile roll, please.
44.
44, nice. Power. You long for the ability to influence the world around you, whether that's as small as a village or as large as a plane of reality. You gain access to the power-hungry drawback. So the drawback will be, you're not going to search for a trait, but it's a drawback. If you take that drawback, you get another trait. So you pick 3 traits instead of just 2.
Okay.
Then you will also...
Wait, are you including the one that's for the adventure path, or no?
No, that's on top. So like you could conceivably start with 4 traits.
Okay.
Yeah. So that way you... to be honest, like none of them are really rules breaking. They're just fun, cool little, things. And because of the way we're generating them as well, I'm really not concerned about, them breaking the game or breaking the balance or anything like that. The only problem comes is when you have asshole players like what I did in Brent's campaign, and I just picked a bunch of traits to make me even sneakier and stealthier. So when my rat folk rogue was starting, I think I had like plus 18 to my stealth check.
Okay.
So which trait did you pick?
Okay, so I am going to take the family ties drawback.
Nice. Okay.
But I'm going to say that it did say that you could extend it. So what it says is when a family member makes a request of you, you must fulfill that request or take a -2 penalty on wisdom and charisma-based ability checks or skill checks until you either do what was requested or succeed at a DC 20 will saving throw, which you can attempt once per day at the start of the day.
Wow. Okay. That's awesome.
Where do I look up traits?
If you go, just do a Google search. It's not in the cool rulebook. Again, you got to do a Google search for Pathfinder traits and then just add the name of whatever trait it is you're looking up afterwards.
Okay.
Now, I don't, Kev, I'm going to extend this to any surviving person from my village.
Yeah, I love that.
I don't know of it because I'm going to take the rich parents trait.
Yeah.
But I'm going to say that it's not actually the bonus 900 gold pieces was not my family's wealth. It was the village's wealth, or the part of it that I escaped with when the giants attacked and destroyed our village. So part of the reason that I feel obligated to anyone from my village is because of this wealth that I gained from the village.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Even though my family was like the poor villagers, or
yeah. I love that. That's fucking great.
And so I'm also going to take orphan.
Yep.
And poverty stricken.
Nice.
Which actually both do the same thing. And increase my survival check. And make it a class skill for me.
What type of bonus is it that you get from those?
One is a +1 trait bonus. And the other one doesn't say.
If it's an untyped bonus, then it's fine. You don't need to worry about it. Then they will stack.
Yeah. But if they were the same type of bonus.
If they're both trait bonuses, then they won't stack.
Right. Well, one is trait and one is unspecified.
Yep, then that's fine. Then they would stack.
And it's also good because survival was not one of my class skills.
Yeah, so that's helpful then.
So trait.
And survival will be quite useful in this particular campaign.
I'm just going to put them both under the trait column because I'm not really sure where else to put them.
Yeah, and that's I think where you're supposed to put. Where is it here? Is it Evungus? Yep, Evungus. Yeah, that's fine.
I just figured it would be nice if we can actually have a little bit of survival.
Sure. Well, that's the next thing is, I guess, not the next thing, but we can decide as well what you want your NPCs to do. So the things, let's see here. Steve, did you pick your traits? Or are you still looking them over?
I think so. Yeah, and I have to choose from the ones that I was offered, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Yeah, I'll take the drawback, power hungry, and
Nice.
I'll take trustworthy, shrouded casting, and artisan probably.
Okay. Cool. Okay. So what you can do is if you go to your character sheet under abilities, I believe.
Abilities.
Yeah. And then you go under the traits
Oh,
tab.
yeah.
Just hit you see where that plus thing is?
Plus, yes.
Click on the plus.
Yep.
And then it should give you the option to add one.
All right. Select one. Trait.
Yep, bingo. Add your name and then add the description of whatever it adds. And then if they add skill modifiers, Steve, just go back to the skills afterwards and then add the whatever the modifier is.
Okay.
I don't know, what does shrouded casting do? I don't even know.
It's for let me look it up again. Yeah, I have to choose an individual school, shrouded casting, and then I can cast spells from that school as if I had the eschew materials feat.
Oh, that's very cool because okay, so in this game you track if you've got something that requires material components, you need to have access to those to cast them. So this is for minor things. So like if there are some of your spells, you will note that if they're inconsequential, it's assumed you've got like bug legs or whatever else around. You don't need to worry about tracking some of that shit. But what it'll do is this thing will allow you to. Do you have to pick a what do you call it? A school for it? Is that what it said?
Yeah, I have to pick a school for it. So maybe it's not even worth getting.
Choose one school of magic. No, it can be. I mean, like, let's say, where's my core rulebook? Here we go. Let's see what the level 0 like spells are here. Like we're going to be applying the rules rigorously for this. So, like things like encumbrance and whether you have access to, like if something has a material component as a casting requirement, your character will not be able to cast it without access to those materials. What that will allow you to do is, let's say, I don't know, let's see, does Ray of Frost have a material component? Let's see.
A lot of them don't. Color spray does.
Color spray does, okay. So color spray is what, a first level spell?
Yes.
Okay, so let's say you want to take color spray, but you don't have access to your little bag of whatever. I'm just going to check. I think that as a first level spell, it probably has an inconsequential thing. Yeah, it is red, yellow, or blue powder or colored sand. Right. If you have that for illusion spells, that means you can ignore like whatever you need for, say, like disguise self or color spray. I don't even know if disguise self has a material component. What that means then is all you need is your verbal. You need to be able to speak, and you need your somatic. So you need to be able to wave your hands, but you don't need the components. So let's say if you've got that memorized. Oh, disguise self does not have a material component. You know what? You can decide what school applies for that afterwards.
Sure.
Once you see what, like, first off, what spells you've learned.
Or I might just take merchant.
You can do that instead too. Sure, yeah. Then once you do that, Steve, just adjust your skills so you're including that trait bonus as well.
Right.
Okay. So let's see here. Jeff, we have done your skills. We've done your class abilities, your race abilities. We've done your traits. Next up, loot. And we don't need to do this on the stream. I'll let you guys, page through the stuff, because anything you can afford, you're welcome to take. And I'm looking at where is it here? Page 140 of the core rulebook. That will tell you what your starting wealth is. And I'll let you start with maximum wealth. Nice. So it goes by class. For you, Jeff, that means 240 gold.
Ooh, plus my 900.
Plus your 900. One thing I'll point out with the 900, there is something called a masterwork weapon or masterwork equipment. What masterwork is basically it's something that costs 300 gold more, whatever the base cost is, plus another 300.
Yeah.
A masterwork whatever grants you +1 to your skill tests with it or your attack bonuses. So if you have a masterwork short sword, you get +1 to hit with that because it's so good. If you have masterwork thieves tools, you get +1 to say like your disabled device roll.
Wow.
Yeah, on top of everything, it's a really cool thing. Just because you've got so much, you're flush with so much cash. That's a
Yeah. I'll probably actually spend a lot of it on things like that.
yeah.
Like as in, I took the super nice bow from the village.
Yeah, exactly. Then we can say that they're all legacy stuff. Steve, for you, because you're a wizard, you're going to start with 120 gold pieces.
Right.
And I mentioned about scribing scrolls earlier. I just want to point out for you where you find what the cost of that is, if that's something you want to do.
Yeah.
It is on
yep.
page 491.
491.
So it says there under scroll costs.
Wait, Kev, do I have to buy masterwork arrows as well?
No.
Okay.
I mean, in theory, you could, but that's money poorly spent because those arrows will be gone.
Yeah. No, I wasn't attending it. I wasn't sure if I.
Okay, so Steve, do you see that list of scroll costs there?
Yep.
So what it means is that, like, because you've got the scribe scroll feat already, you can any spell you can spend whatever's listed there and write it down on a scroll and have that ready to use.
Okay.
Okay, so because what's going to happen at the beginning of each day is you're going to look at your spell book and you are going to pick, I think it's 3 first level spells, and you'll memorize those at the beginning of the day, and then those will stay in your memory until you use them.
Okay.
And you can learn the same one more than once, but because you're limiting yourself to just those ones, it's sometimes handy to have scrolls with other things on them. In particular, like if it's something that's more of a utility spell, something that's more situational, like I don't know, like I think is it read magic a first level spell, or is it a 0? Is it a cantrip?
I believe it's not a first level spell.
Yeah, read magic is a 0. So let's say, I don't know, where's one of the divination ones? Comprehend languages. So let's say you've got comprehend languages in your spell book. If you're going into a dungeon or something like that, maybe you're going to want to prepare like magic missile or something that's going to be a little more dangerous. But that comprehend languages could be handy to know. So what you could do is spend 25 gold, you get the materials you need, and you craft out a scroll of comprehend languages. And you just keep that on you. And when you want to use it, you just pull out your scroll, it like traps a spell in your scroll.
Right.
And then you use it and poof, the thing vanishes. And then you cast, it's as if you cast it yourself.
Right.
That's the cool thing with a wizard, is that a wizard can really, because you've already got that scribe scroll thing, you can sort of keep a bunch of like backup spells. And that's something just worth bearing in mind as you go on. So like if you want to spend some of the gold that you guys earn in the course of the adventure, you can use that to scribe scrolls, because it takes very little time to do it.
Right.
You don't have to start with any of that stuff. Just it's one of the neat sort of contingency things that wizards get to do. Okay, let's see here. So we have our resident wizard, we have our resident rogue. Do we want, for your NPCs, guys, do we want to stay with the classic adventuring group and go with a fighter and a cleric to round out your party, or do you want to go with something more exotic? What do you guys think?
We're picking an NPC.
Yeah, it'll be 2 NPCs. I'm gonna have you guys control them in combat, but I'll role play them otherwise.
All right.
So do you think what sounds more interesting to you guys? Because here's the thing: is that you're going to need some kind of healer in the group, and I can go classic and just go to cleric, and it'd be good to have a tanky kind of character. So we can go classic and go fighter with that, or you can leave it to like my own devilish devices, and I'll come up with two other weirdos to include, but just to fill those 2 roles. What do you guys feel?
I like 2 weirdos, guys.
2 weirdos.
2 weirdos sounds good.
Yeah, you
Awesome.
have fun, man. I know you like to have fun making characters too. So.
I love making weirdo characters so much. So I'm gonna, definitely bring the bizarre for you guys. I will try and come up with something not to the point of like unplayable and unrecognizable in the game, but I'll try and do something interesting with it. So, Steve, what is your character? Who is the actress who is cast as Alira?
Is it Gwyneth Paltrow?
Interesting.
Too easy. I mean, I like Kate Blanchett a lot. It's also, I mean, it's been done, but I do love Kate Blanchett. But maybe, no, I think I'm going to go with Brittany Murphy.
Brittany Murphy? Oh, good choice. A little rumpled, a little dangerous.
Yes.
Yeah, nice. That's great. Oh, cool. So under your characters, under the core tab, put down under description, put down Brittany Murphy, but half elf. Because we've got Andrew Garfield, but a halfling for Humongous.
Nice. Under description, sorry?
Yes, I think description is under, let me open it up.
There you go.
Under the core tab. So what I'm going to do, oh, Steve, what spells did you pick anyway?
I picked Ray of Enfeeblement, Disguise, Color Spray, Charm Person, Identify, Shield, and Magic Missile.
So you got to slow down for me here.
Oh,
so
okay,
Ray of Enfeeblement, Disguise, Self?
Disguise, Self, you betcha.
Yeah.
Color Spray.
Color Spray, cool.
Charm Person.
Charm Person, cool.
Identify,
nice. That's really helpful.
Yep. Shield.
Shield, very cool.
And the standard Magic Missile.
Magic Missile. Love it. Okay, cool. So, that's great. That's a really good selection of helpful spells as well. What did you pick for your skills anyway, Humongous? I actually did not take a look.
And now I'm just choosing. I also have
nice acrobatics. Raise.
Oh yeah, I won't change the tab on you.
Oh, sorry. I disabled device.
Oh, it's all good.
Escape artist.
Steve, you can also choose one trait from the adventure path handout.
Yes, you get one.
Right.
I chose the giant Slayer. There's Eager Performer, which is a bonus +1 on Perform. Also, choose any one spell of the Enchantment School, and also its save DC is +1. There's Family Ties, which gives you +1 to Knowledge Local, and Knowledge Local is a class skill, and you gain the ability to speak and read Verisan.
Verisan.
There's Friends and Enemies, which is a strange one. Once you make it, you meet up with the Goblin Stables. He gives you one of his best steeds and all the necessary accoutrements as gratitude for your family member's help. A heavy combat trained horse, a military saddle, saddlebags, bit and bridle, a month's worth of feed, and a lifetime stabling at the Goblin Squash Stables.
Cool.
So you get a super fancy horse. The Goblin Watcher one gives you +1 on perception and appraise, and a +5 trait bonus on appraise checks to determine the most valuable item visible in a treasure hoard. There's a Hagfish Hopeful, which gives you... Oh, it lets you eat disgusting food.
You get +2 trait bonus on fortitude saves against disease or poison because you're basically a dare eater.
That's hilarious. You can eat gross stuff. You can have a merchant family. You increase the GP limit of any settlement by 20% and can resell items for an additional 10%.
I think like 2 down. I'll bet you I know which one Steve's going to pick.
Monster Hunter gives you +1 bonus to attack and weapon rolls against aberrations and magical beasts. And Scholar of the Ancients. You're a researcher, and you gain +1 trait bonus on Knowledge Arcana, Knowledge History, and you begin play able to speak and read Thessalonian.
Thessalonian is the ancient language of the empire that used to rule this region. As you can imagine, it's pretty fucking helpful over the course of the campaign.
I don't know if any of those sounded great to you, Steve.
What's that?
Were you listening to that?
What was the last one that sounded good?
Scholar of the Ancients.
Yeah, Scholar of the Ancients was the one I was looking at. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. So just include that as one of your traits, and then you get a +1 trait bonus to your Knowledge Arcana, Knowledge History, and you can add Thessalonian to your languages. As well, too, Steve, you get to, because of your intelligence bonus, you get to pick 4 additional languages that you speak.
Right.
You can pick those from, let's see here, I think it's on right near the beginning of the book. I believe.
Hey, they don't give you much space for your languages on here.
It expands out. All
Okay.
the different tabs on here, you can, in the bottom right, there's a way, and I think languages actually expands to fit however many you add in there. It's kind of cool.
So whatever languages you can speak, like your modifier is how many extra languages you know?
Steve, I think you meant to put common down, not English.
Not English. Yeah, fair enough.
That's funny.
Okay, so you'll be able to pick another.
Is that correct? Is that correct?
Was that Jeff?
For every modifier, you learn 1 new language.
That's right. Yep.
Like if my intelligence modifier is +2, I should know 4 languages.
That's correct. You'll know your 2 you start with from your race, and then you'll also gain an additional 4. And then if you trying to find
Now,
a page.
and here it says that I to choose from like the base ones. Like it's like I can know Dwarven, Elven, Gnome, and Goblin. But are there any languages of this region that we should include in this options or no?
Goblin is for sure. What were the other ones? Goblin for sure is helpful.
Dwarven, Elven, Gnome, and Goblin.
Oh, this is on your race, right?
Yeah.
Yes. So that's where you have to pick from. Because
Oh,
that's,
okay.
yeah, that's the ones you're supposed
That's
to
why I was
choose.
just asking if the adventure path changed that list at all.
No, it doesn't. But
Okay.
Goblin is for sure helpful in this. And
Do you speak Elven, Steve?
Sure, if I want to. I think so, yeah.
You have it on your list, Elvish.
half elves start with
Common and Elven, yeah.
Common and Elven, and then you can half elves with high intelligence scores can choose any language they want. So you'll find, except for secret languages like Druidic. So the languages, Steve, are on page 101 of the core book.
I'll take Elven and Goblin.
You take Goblin
And Elven.
and Elven. Okay, cool. So you guys could communicate with each other without if you want to.
I figured that would be interesting. That we can speak to each other in public, maybe, and not everybody in the room knows what we're saying.
So ones that would be helpful in the campaign, Steve, just going forward.
Yeah.
Goblin is going to come up. Abyssal will probably come up. Giant will probably come up. I don't think Orc comes up. Undercommon might come up.
Giant is funny. You can speak giant.
Yeah. Be able to understand ogres. That's
Pretty
pretty
cool.
great.
All right. Common Goblin, it's a common Thessalonian. Goblin, Abyssal, Giant, and then one more. Terran? What's up with Terran?
Terran is like the language of the elemental plane of Earth.
Oh, okay.
So creatures that are from there, that would be the language they speak.
Svirfneblin.
Svirfneblin, those are the deep gnomes.
Oh.
Gnomes that live deep, deep in the earth.
So all that's really left to do is spend our money, correct?
Yeah, I think that's it. Spend your cash, and then I think we are ready to. We're going to need to do some intro stuff for the next session to get ourselves situated in Sandpoint, because you guys are actually you're showing up in town at really the best time, because I believe it is the Swallowtail Festival that's being celebrated.
I love the Swallowtail Festival.
Yeah, it's going to be a ton of fun, and I'm sure that nothing will go wrong at the festival.
Oh, someone's going to ruin the festival.
Is always dull. So then I think that's it. We're just going to spend some stuff. We need to fill out your, I think your traits, Steve, your racial traits we need to fill out, and your spells. We'll get your spells filled in there, and then just spend your money. Oh, did you choose, Steve? Did you want to go with a familiar or with an object?
An object is safer, but a familiar is so much more fun.
It really is.
Maybe a viper.
Ooh, she's got a snake that she keeps with her.
That would be crazy.
That'd be very, very cool. What is I don't even know what the viper bonuses are.
+3 to bluff. Yeah.
Oh, very cool. What do you think? Are you thinking more familiar, or are you thinking more?
And if it's an object, I can attach some ability to it.
No, if it's an object, what you get a chance. I think you get to cast one spell that you haven't actually prepared.
Okay.
I think that's the benefit. So the benefit of having the bonded object is once per day you can cast any one spell that the wizard has in his spellbook and is capable of casting even if the spell is not prepared. It's treated like any other spell cast by the wizard, including casting time, duration, and other effects dependent on your level. Cannot be modified by metamagic, and you can add additional magical abilities to your bonded object as if you had the required item creation feats. Oh, that's kind of cool. So long as you meet the level requirements, you can enchant your object without having to learn the craft feat. So that's kind of neat. So if the bond object is damaged, it's restored to full hit points the next time you prepare your spells. If it's destroyed, it can be replaced after 1 week in a special ritual that costs 200 gold pieces per wizard level, plus the cost of the masterwork item.
So it can be replaced?
Can be replaced, yeah.
Now what about familiars? Can they be replaced?
They can. If they die, familiars are replaced, I believe, let's see here. Where is it?
Yeah, there's usually some kind of a rule about what you have to do to replace them.
Yeah, and I think it's fairly similar. Like it's a week has to pass, and then you can do some kind of ritual, and then you.
Yeah, you basically like summon whatever type you want.
Yeah.
Okay. Like they come to you. If I remember.
Yeah, so like neither of those things is something you lose permanently. It's just you suffer a certain drawback.
Yeah, and then like after a week you get a new one or something like that.
Okay.
Oh, here we go. If a familiar is dismissed, lost, or dies, it can be replaced 1 week later through a specialized ritual that costs 200 GP per level. Okay, it takes you 8 hours to complete.
Ouch! 200 GP per level.
Well, that's the same thing with the bonded item, though.
Gosh darn it! All right.
Yeah. Yes,
you can select any familiar at that point. Like if you have a snake and it died, you could get a cat or whatever.
Right. Just need some flow for that. Can you switch from a familiar to an object?
Nope. Once you make it, well, okay. The rules say once you pick one, you're stuck with it. But because we're learning the game, I'm not fussed.
Right. Okay.
You know, like I'll let you. We'll just play it out in the story as to why you change from one to the other. So if you want to try one and you don't like it, we can swap it over. Swap it over to something else.
Sure. Yeah, we'll start with a viper.
Ah, very cool. So on your skills tab, add +3 bonus to your bluff.
Bluff. Race, trait, fear, item. So we'll go trait.
Sure.
Why not?
Yeah, so you're not getting another trait bonus anyway. Okay, so I want to show you one one final neat thing with the character sheets, guys. And then we can call it. I appreciate you guys sticking around a little bit later. Oh, almost an hour later. Gosh, sorry, guys. We went all over what I thought. Okay, so if you go to the... Well, actually, you don't need to go to anything. Open up your character sheet and go ahead and click on, say, ability checks. Right at the top there, those white buttons.
Oh, yeah, I saw that. I tried this already. It puts a little
did you? Okay.
In the chat.
Yeah, like this is a faster way of getting to some. In a way, it's faster to get to certain results than than trying to search through the character sheet. So that's awesome. I really like that. So Steve, like, click on ability checks for Alira.
Nice.
Isn't that cool?
Wow. That's excellent.
Yeah. And the nice thing is it only shows up in your chat. It doesn't show up.
Oh, yeah, you can't see them.
No. So it's a way for you to, so like when you get to your, like,
oh,
Steve,
you see my result.
Yeah. And Steve, like, you'll be able to go to your wizard spell book.
Nice.
Isn't that cool?
Boom.
And if you guys have items as you get shit over the course of the campaign, you'll be able to find that stuff there. So it's going to be a really helpful way to navigate a lot of the complex information that you'll have about your character.
Right. Very clever.
I really like the sheets for this. Okay, cool. So then what we'll need to do between now and the next session, guys, is for you to buy your gear. And then if you could please enter that, where you're going to enter that is at the bottom, where there's under equipment list. You do it just like your abilities and stuff. Click on the plus and then add it in. Steve, I'll add your spells and your cantrips and shit like that. So I'll fill your, because it's an easy way of cutting and pasting. And then I'll let you manage that going on. And then but for your equipment, guys, make sure when you're adding equipment that you're including the encumbrance as well. Whatever's listed there, because I do want to track that stuff. So you'll see, like, when you click on that, it'll give you the list of, like, quantity, how many you're keeping, the maximum number you're keeping, the weight, where you're carrying it, and a lot of that's drop-down stuff, and it'll fill that stuff out automatically for you. So,
okay, now, Kev, it's not adjusting these things for halfling-sized stuff, is it?
I don't think so. But you will be, for halfling-sized armor. Where is it here?
Well, like, for example, like even a weapon, right? Like.
Okay, well, the way that you look, so look in the core rulebook. I'm on page 142, which is the weapons table.
Yeah.
It's just damage S. That means it's a small weapon.
Right, I realize that, but the weight is only listed once.
Oh, I see what you mean. Hold on.
Like a short bow weighs 2 pounds, but that's for a medium-sized one that does D6 in damage. I would assume that it would weigh less if I have one that only does
You're
D4.
absolutely right. Page 144 tells us that small weapons have it. And for
okay.
Yeah, for large weapons, double it. Remember
perfect.
When you're listing your weapons as well, include the weapon, the damage type as well. You'll see it's listed as S, B, or P, as slashing, bludgeoning, or piercing. That matters because there are certain, like I said, there are certain creatures that are going to be more resilient to that than others. And then if your weapon has special features as well, like if it's got reach or if it can be used to disarm. One house rule I'm going to use in this, guys, is there is a very, so the way that Pathfinder models basically, like, when you're not just whacking someone with a weapon, like if you're trying to disarm them or trip them or bull rush them and push them back, you're using your combat modifier, combat modifier bonus. It's called a combat modifier. So, and there are other neat things, like if you want to do a dirty trick and, like, toss sand in someone's eye or something like that, you will be using your CMB. Normally, but in the rules as written, you need to have a feat in order to not draw an attack of opportunity when you try one of those things. But what I really like those, and I think that the combat can be a little more dynamic if we include those. So anybody can attempt those, and that's both you guys and your enemies. And there's not an attack of opportunity that's drawn from them. The reason the reason that's important is because it makes things that have, like flails, have a trip ability, and they have disarm. Or wait, that doesn't have disarm. There's something else that has disarm. That allows you to make use of those neat abilities without, you know, getting pegged by your adversary. But what that also means is that your adversaries will have the same benefit. Does that make sense?
Yep. Where's the encumbrance number?
It'll be under weight. Or do you mean like for
Well,
tracking?
like how you, yeah.
Like,
How do you calculate what you can carry?
oh, that will be under. Where is it?
I looked under strength. I didn't see it.
I think it's at the end of the first. Actually, I don't know. I'll take a look at the.
Oh, like it might be on the character sheet. Thing.
Yeah, the character sheet will for sure display it. 169 to 170 of the core rulebook. So that's under.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, there we go. That'll tell you your carrying capacity on 171. Because I think neither of you guys have really super strong characters, you may be a little puny.
Yeah, absolutely.
Although neither of you guys are going to be carrying, you're not wearing heavy armor, you're not, you know, yeah. So, okay, cool. All right, guys. So, I think unless you've got any other questions, I think we'll end the stream there because I think our characters are together for the most part. We just have to spend some money on gear, and it's probably not super interesting for the viewers at home.
No, we'll do that off camera.
Yeah, so what I'll say then is for those listening at home, thank you so much for joining us for this character creation session and for the session of picking the adventure path. So we hope that you enjoyed or found it educational to see us go through a character creation process for Pathfinder, although, again, it's a 10-year-old game. So even though we're noobs to this game, it has certainly been around for a long time. But we hope you'll join us on our alternate Wednesdays when we're going to be setting out along the path of the rise of the Runelords in the coming months. So again, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns regarding tonight's stream, please do not hesitate to leave a comment in the comment section below, and I will endeavor to respond in a timely fashion. If you have any questions about Steve or Jeff's characters, about why they picked certain things they did or didn't, or if you have any suggestions for them as well, too, please feel free to leave those comments as well, because we're all coming at this from a fairly new vantage point, so that would be appreciated. Otherwise, we hope the week is treating you well, and we'll see you again very soon.